Catherine.
Good morning. Good morning.
Sure got a hot mic here.
No, it's not on yet, is it? Oh, it's on.
Mike's is, not yours.
I'm on.
They took mine away.
Good morning. I'd like to call to order the Pasco County Commission Constitutional Officers and County Budget Workshop of June 18, 2026. At this time, please silence all electronic devices. Please rise for the invocation of the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good morning. Let's pray. Father, we have gathered this morning in order to begin talking about the budget. Talking about the budget is always probably one of the more challenging things that we're faced with each year. There are always things that are changing and the needs seem to continue to increase. And yet we're also aware of the fact that property taxes may change, which is also going to affect our budgeting process. So in the face of all of these challenges, I ask that you give us all wisdom as we try to come up with equitable solutions that are not going to overly impact our county residents, and yet at the same time are going to provide all the funds that we need for our ongoing services. So we thank you for your presence as always, and ask that you just be in the midst of our conversation and guide and lead us in all the decisions we need to make. And I lift this all up in your name. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
He took it from me.
He's loud. Yeah, that's right.
I want to thank the staff for organizing this important discussion today. I want to thank all our constitutional officers for coming forward in the Judicial Court as well. These are interesting times we're going to be dealing with, depending on how this property tax situation does go. So I think it's something that we keep mindful of everything we do as far as trying to work through our budget as best we can and being kind of prepared for what may happen down the road. I think Pasco County's done a great job as far as responsibly listening to the citizens. I think the citizens have said they wanted better things, and I think we've been on our way to deliver that. So I think we've done everything responsive to the need. At the same time, we're going to have to deal with something that may be coming up. And I think the good discussions we talk about and the responsibleness that we've done with our budgets are going to carry the weight, and hopefully we'll be in a good situation coming up. Maybe we should go around the room as far as this table goes. Everybody can introduce themselves in case anybody's unfamiliar. Amy, we'll start with you.
Good morning, Amy Farrell, Budget Director with Pasco County.
Eric Breitenbach, Assistant County Administrator with Pasco County.
Good morning, Mike Carvala, Pasco County Administrator.
Jeff Steinsnyder, County Attorney, Pasco County.
Lisa Yeager, District Board.
Jack Mariano, Chairman.
He said it was before the midterms because he's heard.
Seth Wakeman, Vice Chair.
District 2.
District 2, sorry. Level of detail.
Catherine Starkey, District 3.
Good morning, Nikki Alvarez Souls, Pasco County Clerk and Controller.
Good morning, Sean Crane, Chief Judge, 6th Judicial Circuit.
Good morning, Brian Corley, Supervisor of Elections.
Good morning, Mike Fasano, Tax Collector.
Good morning, Mike Wells, Property Appraiser.
At this point, I'll recognize Mike Carvalho. Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank everyone for being here today. I agree. I think Pasco County has done a wonderful job over the years, but especially as of late, this is the third time that we've pulled our constitutional officers in. In this effort of providing more touch points on the budget, transparency and collaboration in building the budget to serve our community to create a better future. And so I will ask. The format of this is going to be a little different than in years past. Typically, we held a separate workshop with our constitutional officers ahead of this. But as you point out, Mr. Chair, because of the uncertainty, we decided to kind of delay that until we knew a little bit more about what was going to happen with reform or potential there. So we've combined the budget workshop today. So today, we're going to ask our constitutional officers to first present their budgets or their challenges, key issues that are there. We're limiting that time to approximately 15 minutes.
15 minutes, yeah, 15
minutes,
minutes, I understand.
And then we'll take a brief 5-minute recess, if that's okay with you. And then we'll have Amy and the budget team come up and again present the operational side of the budget. Due to time constraints, we will handle the capital portion of our budget at a July public workshop. But we really want to focus on the operational side, since that is the most critical piece that we need to get information and guidance and discussion from the board on. So with that, I would like to ask Matt the clerk if you're prepared to kick us off today.
Yeah, thank you. So my office budget for fiscal year '27 was submitted on April 30th. I don't know what the mic here. So a lot has happened, obviously, since that time with property tax reform, and there are a lot of unknowns as it relates to property tax revenue for the county currently. And the joint resolution has a couple of obstacles ahead of it. One with a lawsuit that's already been filed. There's others talk of potential constitutional challenges, and then you have the voter approval in November. So if passed, it will have an effect on future budgets starting with fiscal year '28. With that understanding, my presentation will focus on what we knew at the time I submitted the fiscal year '27 budget. Do I control or is someone else controlling? Okay. Very good. So before I dive into my budget request, I want to quickly explain the constitutional and statutory services that are funded by the county for my office. So the county-related services of my office, which the county funds, are services provided to this board, to county departments, and to county staff. The functions of my county-funded budget are not to the public. They are strictly provided to Pasco County government. Those services are mandated by Article 8, Section 1D of the Florida Constitution and Section 218.35 sub 2B of Florida statutes, and they're provided on the slide. So clerk of the Board of County Commissioners, the county auditor, custodian and treasurer of all county funds, and other county-related duties. Other county-related duties are things such as my services to support the Value Adjustment Board and the 32 county boards and committees such as the Planning Commission and the Tourist Development Council. If tax reform succeeds, the county will need to make very difficult decisions about needs and wants. However, before you balance your needs and wants, you have to determine what must be done. The services provided by my office for the county are required by the Florida Constitution and Florida statutes. Many constitutional and statutory mandates impose penalties or liabilities if the functions are not performed. For example, as county auditor, the clerk has an affirmative duty to review expenditures for legality before payment, in addition to ensuring that expenditure is for a public purpose. The clerk is not simply a payment processor for the county. In a landmark case of Alachua County versus Powers, the Florida Supreme Court stated that the clerk has the authority and responsibility to audit functions as a watchdog of the board in the case of pre-auditing accounts and determining the legality of expenditures. Florida law makes the clerk personally liable, both criminal and civil liability, for illegal or unauthorized county expenditures. Another example, Florida law requires local governments to pay valid invoices within a prescribed time frame. When those requirements are not met, the county bears the financial consequences through statutory interest penalties. Efficient invoice processing protects taxpayer dollars by avoiding unnecessary costs while ensuring compliance with state law. That's called the Local Government Prompt Payment Act, that we're very familiar with. There are many other examples similar to the two I just have shared. In addition, there are functions my office performs to protect the county, such as ongoing efforts to protect against vendor fraud and other cyber crimes. The county is also required to fund specific court-related functions of my office pursuant to Article 5, Section 14C of the Florida Constitution and Section 29.008 sub 1 and sub 2 of Florida statutes. These services are listed on the slide. For clarification, communication services includes telephone systems, all computer networks, systems, and equipment. The Multi-Agency Criminal Justice Information System is also called CJIS for short. It involves technology, however, it's specific to court-related activity to ensure information sharing between local justice partners, and reporting of information to the state. So now that I have explained some of the constitutional and statutory services that are funded by the county for my office, I will go over my office's fiscal year 27 budget that was submitted again on April 30th. From an operational perspective, our office continues to focus on efficiency and cost containment. As a result, fiscal year 27 budget is one of the smallest increases since I became clerk. For fiscal year 27, the board services and multi-agency sieges component of my office's budget reflects a modest increase of 4.35%, or around $436,000 compared to fiscal year 26. The proposed increase is primarily driven by teammate salary adjustments and increases in operational expenditures. These increases are attributable to inflationary pressures beyond the office's control, including the rising cost of goods and services required to maintain day-to-day operations. This request is not about growth, it is about maintaining capacity. Last year, at the request of the Board of County Commissioners, my office submitted a budget reflecting a 3% salary increase. At the time, I requested that if the board elected to fund its or any other constitutional employee's salary increases above 3%, that my office be given the same salary increase. I recently learned that the board funded 5% salary increases for other constitutional offices. My team is facing the same inflationary and operational pressures as other constitutional offices without a comparable salary increase. Inflation has gone from 2.7% to 4.2% in this time, while my team has received a 3% salary increase. Therefore, I'm requesting a 5% salary adjustment in fiscal year 27 to allow my office to continue meeting its statutory obligations without compromising compliance, service, or accountability. My office remains committed to effective and efficient operations. This slide provides a few enhancements and efficiencies implemented this fiscal year so far. The Florida FGFOA award is the Florida Government Finance Officers Association Certificate of Achievement in Excellence in Financial Reporting. We've received that award for 42 consecutive years, and that carries a significant financial and reputational benefits to the Board of County Commissioners. Most notably, it supports strong bond ratings, as credit rating agencies view consistent, high-quality financial reporting as a sign of sound financial management, transparency, and robust internal controls. The Legal Resource Center, the Legal Information and Forms Education Program. In 2016, at the request of the Board of County Commission, my office assumed responsibility for operating the County Law Library, which was renamed the Legal Resource Center. As Pasco County experienced rapid population growth, the demand on legal assistance has increased significantly. To help meet this growing need, my office partnered with Bay Area Legal Services to provide free attorney sessions to self-represented litigants. This collaboration supports the county's statutory obligation to provide legal assistance. The electronic VAB applications. VAB stands for Value Adjustment Board. Historically, the VAB process has been entirely manual, requiring significant staff time and paper-based processing. This past May, my office successfully developed and launched Phase 1 of the electronic VAB processing project, which allows taxpayers to file petitions and submit payments online. Phase 2 will focus on automating hearing notices and electronically managing petitions, bringing the county closer to a fully electronic VAB process. Once fully implemented, this project is expected to streamline administrative workflows, reduce reliance on paper, and improve overall efficiency and lower operating cost. The Ops Audit Software, it's been related to the term OPTRO now. This is a comprehensive AI-powered audit management platform used to plan, conduct, and report the operational audits. This program will increase audit management workflow efficiency and enhance reporting capabilities. So here are some future efficiency projects that are up on the horizon. Financial reporting fund consolidation. Pasco County currently has approximately 235 funds to manage its financial activities. Maintaining such a high number of funds requires additional time and resources for administration, review, reconciliation, and financial audit. Our external auditor recommends and my office supports reducing the number of funds by using functionality in the financial systems such as using the subledger. This will reduce administrative burden, improve efficiencies, and save time and cost for both organizations as well as the external auditor. E-recording for permitting customers. With the relocation of permitting services to the Citizen Service Center in Newport Richey, customers who need to record a notice of commencement, also known as an NOC, after obtaining a permit must travel between buildings to complete the process. My office would like permitting customers to electronically record NOCs through Acela, which would transmit to the clerk's electronic recording portal for electronic recording and then return the recorded instrument to Acela, allowing the recorded NOC to be attached to the online permit. This solution will support the county's mobile permitting events and allow customers to manage full permitting process online through Acela application. E-inventory tracking. The county's inventory management process relies heavily on manual spreadsheets, tracking and data entry for approximately 18,000 inventory items, resulting in inefficiencies and potential errors. My office is in the process of implementing a new inventory management technology that integrates scanning equipment with the county's financial system. Once fully implemented, the new system will significantly reduce manual data entry while improving the accuracy, efficiencies, and timeliness of inventory management across the county. Debt management software. A specialized software to support compliance monitoring and reporting has been acquired and is in phase 2 of implementation. The system is now actively being used to generate required post-issuance compliance reports, and efforts are underway to document procedures and expand access to the appropriate Board of County Commission departments. This will result in strengthening compliance with IRS regulations and GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles, improving audit readiness, reducing the risk of adverse IRS impacts to the tax-exempt status of debt issuance, and provides system access and reporting to the BCC. Vendor onboarding services. To address the increased risk of vendor fraud and unauthorized payment activity, my office currently relies on time-consuming manual verification process to validate vendor identities, banking information, tax documentation, and other critical data before vendors receive a payment from the county. Moving to a third-party vendor with specialized fraud detection and verification capabilities streamlines the onboarding process while strengthening controls to prevent fraudulent vendors, payment diversion schemes, and other financial crimes while improving operational efficiencies. Digital evidence. As the volume of body-worn camera footage and other digital evidence continues to increase, the justice system faces the challenge of securely managing, tracking, and sharing electronic evidence. To address this need, the other justice partners, such as the courts, my office, the county IT, and the Sheriff's Office, the State Attorney, Public Defender, and we're all collaborating to implement a digital evidence management solution. Future investments in digital evidence technology will be required as part of the county's multi-agency CJIS funding responsibilities under 29.008 of Florida statutes. So, on to the end. As we look ahead, it is important to preserve funding for my office's constitutional duties. These duties include paying county employees, processing county bills, investing county funds, managing county debt, auditing county departments, and preserving the official record of county meetings. The clerk is a constitutional officer with responsibilities mandated by Florida Constitution and Florida statutes. Funding the clerk's office means funding legal mandates. If property tax reform passes in November, my office will need to understand what changes the county plans to make and how those changes will affect my office's workflow. My office remains committed to being a responsible steward of taxpayer dollars. Before budget reductions are considered, we must discuss the services required by law, the liabilities, penalties, and risks of reducing those services, and any county operational changes that will impact my office's workload. I am confident the balance can be achieved, but it will require open dialogue, careful planning, and partnership, and I look forward to continuing those conversations with you over the coming year. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any discussion, or we'll just keep on going to the presentation?
Pleasure of the board.
Question? Thank you. Mr. Wade?
Yeah, thank you, Bart. It was nice to celebrate the improvements made in the software platform for VAB, which we just had. So congratulations to you and your team. And same with the property appraisers team and trying to work together to keep unnecessary applications coming in, which just drive up the cost. Question for Accurate Amy here. So, sound like a broken record on this. Our unfunded mandate list, right? Hopefully that's growing. That way we can share that with folks. Based on the legal definitions of statutory language, what's the unfunded mandate that is required to fund the clerk's office? I would like to know what that number is. That way we can see it in the list. I think it's important that we break it down instead of having a total list, but clerk's unfunded mandate obligation, Mr. Corley's unfunded mandate obligation, Mr. Wells' unfunded mandate obligation, of course, and our and sheriff and so on. That way we can show those. And then after we identify those, I think looking towards the future here, this is a question for the clerk. When you go to page 4 and 5, and then we go to page 6, these are all important duties of the clerk's office, but I'd like to understand if these are unfunded mandates that the clerk has to comply with statutorily versus, I guess, put that kind of in the once bucket, so to speak, of what just makes better customer service, more efficient work platforms. That way we can separate those out. I'm not saying they're a bad thing. I think it's just important that we understand, boilerplate of what's mandated, what's not, and then we understand these additional best management practices that the clerk is using are just based on, how the clerk chooses to do the business of the office. So,
Mr. Chair, may I
Yes.
respond? So, Commissioner Waitman, that's exactly what I was hoping you would say. I greatly appreciate that. No, I was hoping
Maybe a little.
that, because I think it's important. First, what are mandated by the Constitution and statutes? We need to know that clearly from all of our organizations. And then what's going to reduce cost if we implement efficiencies? So you're right on what I was hoping would come out of this. So I greatly appreciate that. I look forward to providing this information to you from my office and continuing the conversation, because we need to have a clear picture of what those things are. So we certainly don't want to have any sort of liability, penalty, or increased risk for cutting an area. We need to know fully what decisions we're making. So I greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
I'll just add on to, I think, these efficiencies that you're going to put in, is probably the permitting part as well, to touch on a separate
Yes.
subject, but those efficiencies, I think, if there's some way to relate those to what the benefit is for the citizens, that would be good.
Absolutely.
Okay, Mr. Stark.
And adding on that, is there a related reduction in FTEs that you can provide for when we do more automation? Do you break it out like that?
So we can estimate, but until it's in a cycle, I won't be able to know for sure, but I can estimate.
'Cause I think you've done some already, and so maybe you have some idea of some of these other ones that you did.
So for example, some of these efficiencies that I spoke about were because we're drowning right now, and it was just to allow us to have capacity. For example, Commissioner Waitman talked about the Value Adjustment Board. We have so many petitions now in the recent years than we had just 3 years ago. It's been crazy. And it took us through May to get through last year's petitions. And it's just, there's such a high volume, and we all have limited resources and staff to be able to process that. So that improvement is to allow my team to have more capacity so that we can process these items it was even quicker, you know, within a good amount of time.
And on the legal resource center, is that something statutorily we have to have? Because now we do have to.
You have to provide law library services in pursuit of statute. I can get you all the statutory references, but yes, what we did is in 2016, we entered into an interlocal agreement because I have economy of scale, so I was able to run it in the black. The county was running it in the
Yeah, I
red.
remember. I just wonder if we, in this day and age, if we still have to have it when there's so much information online, is that an efficiency that?
So that's why we call it a legal resource center now, because we moved online, books are very expensive. So we changed it from a library, because the idea, when you think of a library, is you think books, maybe it's changing this day and age, but we changed it to legal resource center, because we provide, mostly, everything is online legal resources.
So you have a person there that help
Mhm.
one person, maybe
Yes,
in a room that helps people when they come in?
Yes.
And helps them do this?
yes.
Well,
And if you would like to
hopefully
come
that's-
and visit, you're more than welcome, and then you can also
I
see-
actually used it when we had a library for some personal things.
Okay.
Back when it was the old style books.
Mhm.
And it was helpful.
Right.
Okay, those were my questions.
Go ahead. Commissioner Whitley, go ahead.
Yes, so to add color to the clerk's comment about VAB and the petitions, what's happening and what's driving up staff time and cost and what's led to the platform, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the synopsis of it is, we're just having, people are just filing petitions for the sake of filing petitions. And most of the time, they don't show up. What's the percentage that show up? Virtually, remind me, please.
So we have probably,
Would you come forward, please?
Yeah, so maybe just, I think it would be good for the board, because Commissioner Oakley's in here, but explain kind of what's driving the staff time, the cost, and related to the VAB, since the clerk's responsible for it. And it's these folks' legal right to do this. So when it comes, I'm bringing this in because of the unfunded mandate list, and that way we can truly understand some of these points that are driving staff time and cost. So I know we're a little bit ahead of schedule, but.
And if you would, your name and position for the record.
Chief Deputy Value, Property Appraiser's Office. So what we have in regards to the volume, what we're really talking about is tax representatives that are typically representing investment companies. And they own thousands.
You already got my
of
blood
properties.
boiling.
Yeah, they own thousands of properties, these investment companies, and the tax reps, they think that all of them needed an adjustment, were wrong on all of them.
He was telling me about this, how they
So
just
they
challenge
file
them
on
all.
these thousands.
Playing games.
They play
So
games.
in years past, we were looking at 200-300 maybe. Past 5 or so years, we're looking at thousands and 3,000 plus. And that's a significant number. And there's another company that recently presented itself, and that is a company that basically says any individual property owner can save on property taxes if they use their services. So, and they don't charge anything unless they actually do save you something on the property tax. Unfortunately, most of the folks that file, there is no adjustment to be made, and that company typically just doesn't even present evidence, doesn't show up, and you've got hundreds, if not thousands, of clients that they have petitions. And then we, because of statutory changes recently, we have to provide evidence, prepare evidence ahead of the hearing automatically. The clerk has to prepare, their side of things, hire the magistrate, and there's a minimum fee just to have the magistrate that day.
4 hours, right?
Yeah,
4 hours minimum for the magistrate.
and then they don't show up. And that's a serious issue. And part of the issue, part of the reason, in my opinion, that happens is that, and I'm not saying anybody all the particular, but part of the changes that we've had recently where we allow folks to do the teleconference or by telephone, video, what have you.
It's required by statute.
Right,
We
so
don't-
there you go. So that motivates a lot of different tax reps. They used to have to fly down from Texas or something like that to just, hey, I can do it over the phone, win or lose, we don't really spend any money.
Yeah.
But if they have to actually spend something because there is merit to their petition, they have to show up, different ballgame altogether. They won't file, or if they file, they withdraw. So a lot of different things that have caused this issue, but definitely has been very costly for us and for the clerk for sure.
So,
Mr. Chair?
can I ask a question first?
Yeah.
So have we looked at legislatively what we think the changes should go back to or to modify?
Good luck.
They just changed. Happening here.
No, absolutely. Yes, across the state. So definitely there's an opportunity to look at the, some reforms to statute.
Never gonna happen.
We typically shy away from putting too much emphasis on the statutory changes, because they think, oh, well, you have a vested interest, you're, a conflict of interest. So, but we should. We probably should have more emphasis on potential changes in folks like, the clerk, and yourselves, obviously, because ultimately you do pay for the VAV services and the magistrates. You do definitely have, all of us essentially have a vested interest in making sure we can change statute, or make those statutory changes so that we don't have these problems. And it's a recent phenomenon, and we need to recognize it.
I think legislatively we can work together and work on these unintended consequences that are happening. Mr. Stark.
I'm checking here with NACO with my contact at my committee, but there was a housing bill going through in Washington that would require large institutional offices within 7 years to divest. I can't remember if it's been signed. So that's one thing that we need to track. Second, are we allowed to charge a registration fee for anyone going, still, okay, the two chambers have reached an agreement on the language. The Senate should pass it this week and the House next week. So are we allowed to charge a registration fee with this? And we could say if you're successful, your fee comes out of it. If not, then we need to get going on our rental registry, because that's where we can recoup some money to help pay for this.
Sure. I mean, yeah, that's how it has, I'm not sure about the registration fee.
The only thing that's authorized by law is to charge a petition fee.
It's called, okay, so we could charge a fee, and we don't?
We do,
We
no, we
definitely
do.
do have.
Is it enough to cover?
No.
And then,
Then, do we have the ability to raise the petition fee?
on our own,
It's on,
not necessarily.
no, it's in Florida statute. We have to, go to our legislators and ask them to increase that.
Yeah, and it actually went recently from $15 a petition to $50 a petition.
And that was recent.
I don't recall how
And
much.
so those large institutional buyers pay the $50 per, it's not per
Yes.
paper, it's per,
Per petition.
Yeah.
so for each residence they own?
It's worth it to them.
Well, and
Well, for
they
each
all,
petition.
they represent others, other landowners, other homeowners as well. So they're representing, they'll go down the street and just have people sign up.
But it's $50 per address, I guess is my question.
Right, per
Yes.
parcel.
Not per,
Yes.
Correct, it's
Per
one
application.
petition, one parcel.
So if you do the math, if the magistrate has to listen to one of them, you're looking at about half an hour to an hour pay to the magistrate. I think it's 160, 180, I forget the number that we.
I don't know that off the top of my head for the hour.
$50 for those folks to pay, on the petition, but if you pay $100 to the magistrate, $50, that's not covered in that petition.
That also does not include your office's staff time in preparing
Absolutely.
for the quasi judicial matter and the clerk's time.
Right, absolutely.
better.
And you're a volunteer,
rental
on-
registry.
and you're a volunteer on the board, so.
No, compensated to be there.
Well,
There are.
Well, there are
volunteers.
members that
You
are.
couldn't compensate me enough to be on
There
that
are
board, I think.
volunteers. There are volunteers.
There are.
That are on that board. too.
And the cost of the value adjustment board, my understanding, part of it comes from the county and the other part comes from the school board.
But in 7 years, they won't, at least the large ones, they won't be able to have more than, I can't remember the number, but they're not gonna be allowed to have
But that, I mean,
large
that's
ownership of
large.
rental properties.
Sorry, but that affects other parts of our economy that I won't get into.
Yeah.
But DAB in particular is an issue.
It's really become a drain on staff time. And our meetings are really the same amount of time, and these folks are not showing up. Quite frankly, it's pretty doggone rude, and it's not fair to the working staff and or the taxpayer to have to fund, these fishing expeditions that these groups are going on. And you compound it statewide, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, and the only possible immediate solution, and I don't know whether it's a statutory issue or not, but a fee, they don't show.
Yep.
Yeah, that is not allowed. I mean, that's not provided, so you can't charge the fee.
So that's
we would-
a possible solution.
Right, that's another idea.
Well, I think that needs to be on our legislative suggestion list.
But nonetheless, VOV runs very smoothly, always a very nice meeting, and the collaboration between the clerk and the property appraiser and the board members, and the magistrate, it's a well-oiled machine, so, thank you.
100% agree.
Appreciate you and Commissioner Oakland show. Okay, let's move on to the sixth judicial court. Judge Gray?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here and be heard. Thank you to the board as well. Kind of dovetailing into some of the conversation we've had, I just wanted to stress and thank our clerk for doing, and her staff for doing such an amazing job assisting the courts. When we talk about efficiencies, one of the things we do on a regular basis, literally on a weekly basis, if not on a daily basis, is we meet with the clerk's office, our folks and their folks, just to try to increase any and all efficiencies that we can, operational and otherwise, and understanding what's kind of on the horizon. So we try to be proactive and understanding, what's out there, the digital evidence. We were collaborative, and they did a great job with the Legal Assistance Center, Commissioner Starkey, that you referenced. And I think that's a great benefit to our citizens in our community. And part of that assists, for instance, people who are in difficult situations who come to get injunctions, domestic violence injunctions, stalking injunctions, dating injunctions and things like that. So that's obviously a critical need within our county. And we try to work together to make sure we're as efficient and as appropriate as we can with regard to those issues. And so I thank them. I thank them for that. And part of the stress on the system is, to give you an idea, the last 2 years or so, our filings have increased 60% through the court system. About 25,000 cases, additional cases, small claims are up. People are defaulting, unfortunately, on credit cards at an alarming rate, and that sort of thing. And many times, as we know, that's a little bit like the canary in the coal mine as it relates to mortgages as we even look further down the road. We've come in and much to everybody's surprise, I suspect I am not going to give you a PowerPoint about a courthouse here today. I think you all kind of know that, but I think, once again, trying to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money. I think that the board's already appropriately pointed out, this is a very unusual and difficult time we find ourselves. And that's something that, maybe we can put on pause, see what's going to happen with this, with November and property taxes and that sort of thing. So, really discretion being the better part of valor, I think that it is very appropriate to pause that at the present time and kind of see where we're going to be in November. That being said, I'm not going to use anywhere near the time I think allotted. Our budget's coming in flat. We're very appreciative of the support the board gives us and through the clerk's office and really through all the constitutionals that we get on a daily basis. We're just making a single request for a single position, or 2 positions actually, a family law magistrate, general master, and their assistant. And the reason we're asking for that, we asked for it last year in anticipation For those of you who don't know, Judge Dan Diskey is retiring after many years with the court system in Pasco County. We are going to lose over 3 decades of family law experience. December 31st of this year. And in order to kind of keep up with that workload, with anybody who would be subbing in for him, that's why we're asking for this magistrate position. But other than that, we're maintaining pretty much a flat budget with you all, and we're appreciative of the support and help that you give us. And like I said, we wish our best to Judge Diskey in his future, as we do with our county attorney for future endeavors and travel and et cetera. But it seems to be the season of retirements, and we'll certainly miss him, but we'll certainly miss the knowledge and efficiencies that come with the 30-plus years of family law experience. I'm certainly open to any questions anyone has. Like I said, we're just trying to maintain where we are, and that's the only bit of increase we're asking for.
Any questions? Chief Judge?
Maybe you have Judge Steinsnyder here.
Judge.
Retirement. He knows what's going on.
I think he wants to de-stress, not increase the stress.
Family law has never been one of the things I've done.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. A little property appraiser?
What's that?
Supervisor election.
You're last. You're last.
Gotcha.
Good
Thanks.
morning,
Thanks.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I'm going to continue the trend of no PowerPoint, just me for a very brief time. Thank you for the opportunity to be here and host this workshop. These are indeed challenging times, as we've heard in our invocation and a consistent theme. However, I will stress again the continued partnership between not only my office and the board, as well as my fellow constitutional officers. During my tenure, I think it's pretty safe to say we've shared a collective goal of serving the citizens. As my good friend Mike Fasano would say, truly Pasco proud. My office and its budget are unique, some would say for a variety of reasons, but specifically with regards to the budgetary nature of our office. We talk about the heavy versus less heavy budgets with overlapping primary and general elections. And something I don't talk about often, but our unique staffing dynamic. We very, very small full-time complement, but swells up in even numbered years to be one of the largest employers in the county with their outstanding election workers that help us deliver secure and accessible elections in 122 precincts to nearly 500,000 voters. And with regards to our budget, I'm proud to say the trend continues that my office, of all the SOE offices in the state, my office consistently has been one of the lowest cost per voter with regards to our respective budget. This particular budget submission at just over 4% increase, the increase is due primarily to the following. Something we all know about: minimum wage increases. Of course, for us, it impacts those thousands of election workers, pay, and training costs. We had multiple election-related IT services or computer services that had been previously funded by Washington, the Department of Homeland Security, and the impact of those cuts are a direct relation to that as well. We also had additional IT equipment and replacements due to end of life and increased cost of services. And one of the biggest concerns we had is coming to fruition, and that looks like we're going to have a 2-page ballot, and that increases the actual paper costs, the logistics, all that stuff. So, again, thank you for the opportunity to be here, and I look forward to answering any questions you all have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Foley. Question for you, and I think this is good for all of us. You just mentioned something that hasn't brought up. It's really an unfunded mandate. The minimum wage increase costs. How much did that cost us? Because it didn't cost us just with the base employee that gets the raise, but the ones above them, that you got to offset the compensation as well.
Oh, yeah, there's a direct, I think it impacts literally everyone, public and private. It's undeniable. So the good news is I believe we're maxed out now with the minimum wage increase, I believe. So at least we can have some stability going forward.
Good if we could maybe get a calculation with them all, especially with the county as well. Got to calculate that out. Thank you, sir, for always doing a great job.
Thank you. And one, if I could add on to that, you mentioned unfunded mandates. With the recent congressional redistricting that impacted about a quarter of Pasco's voters, and legally, statutorily, I had to mail out voter information cards. That's going to be, I believe, one for you all Tuesday, I believe, or it's going to soon. Tallahassee didn't provide the funding for those cards, so about $120,000. So there's, to Commissioner Waitman's point, there's an example right there of an unfunded mandate template.
I believe that is going to be on the July 14th board meeting, so I think that's when that item will go before you guys.
Okay. It's off by a month, sorry.
That's okay. Look, hey, you thought we were moving real fast. So we appreciate it.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
For raise increases, what did you propose this year?
In what you're holding shows 5%, but I adjusted to 3% after consultations with Mr. Carbell.
Yeah, move to property preservation.
No, you're up next. I get to skip you? Okay. You go ahead. Okay. Thank you. Fasano said I'm allowed to go, so we're good. We're good. Just kidding. So just messing. Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. I'm Mike Wells, your property appraiser. Appreciate the opportunity to spend a few minutes sharing how our office continues to keep pace with Pasco County's exceptional growth while remaining one of the most efficient property appraisers offices in the state. Today, I'll walk you through our performance, the growth we're managing, how we compare to 66 other counties, and our preliminary budget outlook for fiscal year 2027. When I talk about delivering, so do we need it up or we're good? You guys have it in front of you, so we don't. No, there you go, Mike.
Okay,
got it. Okay.
From
When I talk about delivering more with less, these numbers tell the story. We serve more than 348,000 parcels for what is likely now more than 650,000 residents, while maintaining one of the lowest costs per resident and per parcel in the state. At the same time, our team processes significantly more parcels per employee than the Florida average. Simply put, we continue to grow without asking taxpayers to shoulder a disproportionate cost. You see the key highlights on your screen here, and we're proud of those numbers. We have the second lowest budget per capita in Florida, fourth lowest budget per parcel in Florida, and we're top 5 in parcels processed per employee. That translates to 41% lower cost per resident than the statewide average, 42% lower cost per parcel than the statewide average, and 47% more parcels processed per employee than the statewide average. We're doing more with less every day while still providing the level of service our residents expect and deserve. This chart here, this chart highlights the extraordinary growth we've experienced as a county. You can see the bubble in 2006 and 2007, the decline that followed, and the steady and then aggressive climb in the market since. In 2000, Pasco's just value was $15 billion. Today, it's over $92 billion. That's a 518% increase in just 25 years. That growth reflects new development, rising demand, and the county's continued success. For our office, it also means more complexity, more parcels, and more responsibility. Here you can see how just value, assessed value, and taxable value have all increased over the last several years. A snapshot looking back to 2020, while market values have grown rapidly, statutory caps and exemptions help moderate what many property owners ultimately pay taxes on. This demonstrates why accurate assessments remain so important. One of the most common questions we receive is why people see 3 different values on their trim notice or proposed taxes. Just value is the market value, assessed value reflects any statutory caps, and taxable value is what's left after exemptions and is the figure used to calculate taxes. Helping residents understand these distinctions remains a major part of our customer service mission. Unlike many local government budgets, our budget goes through an independent review process. Florida law requires us to submit our budget to the Department of Revenue each year. They evaluate it to ensure it's neither excessive nor inadequate. This provides an additional layer of accountability on top of the efforts we make on our own to be as efficient as possible for the citizens we serve and their hard-earned dollars. So why is our budgetary process different than so many others? The state oversight process exists for 2 reasons. First, it helps ensure fairness and uniformity across Florida. Second, it creates a separation between the authorities that set tax rates and the office responsible for establishing values. That independence is critical to maintaining public trust. Even with continued growth and inflationary pressures, we've challenged ourselves to remain efficient. My team looks for better opportunities, process, technology year-round. Our preliminary analysis indicates that we can reduce our budget for fiscal year 2027 while continuing to meet service expectations and manage increasing workloads. The slide that may be a best example of our philosophy would be this one. Over the last 5 years, we've returned more than $2.5 million to you. I know it's nothing compared to Fasano, but the Board of County Commissioners averaging over $500,000 annually. Despite continued growth, our fiscal year 2027 budget reflects a reduction of approximately $172,000, or just over a 2% decrease. We believe that demonstrates responsible stewardship of taxpayer resources and a commitment we take very seriously. And that's it. Any questions?
Mr. Wade. Chair. What's it gonna take for you to get to number one?
We're working on it. We're working on it. Yeah. We're always striving to be there. Trust me, it's Lee County. It's Matt. I want to be able to. Yeah.
Lee County, right?
Well, there's a lot of, well, we can chat later, but Matt does a great job. He runs very efficient, so.
So on the annual budget review, do the property appraiser's office have to pay the state for that work?
No.
So that comes out of the state budget?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, when your office appraise values, it's at 85%?
90.
You guys do
90%, yeah, per Department of Revenue.
So that percentage is based upon the state?
It is, and keep in mind, we mass appraise, so a lot of confusion is like somebody, a homeowner will be like, hey, why is my number 110% or why is my number 80%? And on average, 350,000 parcels, we hit the 90% number. So it's a little, it's not every single, and that's where the tax reps come in. That's why they make a big deal about it, because it's not at 90%. But on average, with every single parcel, we're at 90%.
Is the property appraiser's office legally allowed to appraise, obviously, the county budget begins with your work, right? So are you all legally permitted to appraise, say not at 90, but 80%? Do you have, what level of flexibility, right? Because then that kind of controls where we go, right? So, yeah.
So, Daniel V. again, Chief Deputy Evaluator for the Property Appraiser. To answer that question, so I think we need to focus back on constitutionally what we have to do, and that's assess at market value. That's what we're looking for. The 85%, the cost of sale is what they call it.
Right.
Consideration is a statistical figure to make sure that we don't, on average, exceed full market value. So, because it is a statistical figure, that 85%, 90% number, we're talking about a bell curve. So the bulk of the properties are at that 85 to 90% number. Some are going to be less than that, some are going to be higher than that. So the core is what's audited essentially by the Department of Revenue and approved the tax roll based on that statistical balance of our assessments. Now, could we assess at 80%? So we'd have to justify it.
The question is what kind of, it's not necessarily the percentage, but what kind of level of decision-making authority do you all have within the
We have 10%.
appraised?
Actually, we actually have 10% margin. And if we're exceeding the market value by 10% or are below by 10%, we're gonna have to answer to the Department of Revenue. That's our margin in terms of statistical freedom, so to speak. So the way the statute reads and the guidelines from the Department of Revenue is we can't make an adjustment in that 15%, that so-called 85% ratio. Unless we justify, let's just say, for example, we think the cost of sale, the cost of a transaction exceeds 15%, we have to provide evidence that this says, yes, it's costing X percentage to complete that transaction. The fact of the matter is that we generally don't even find enough or enough evidence to support 85% or 15% cost of sale. We probably could be at 90, 95% on average. There are other counties that identify certain property types with only a 5% cost of sale, so they assess at 95%. There are some that are 10%, and they assess at 90. We're at the state average, which is 15%. We end up averaging at about 85% ratio. So there's flexibility in those numbers, but at the end of the day, the Constitution, fall back to that Constitution, we just can't exceed market value on that. That's really it.
It's really not, in my opinion, it's not the government's business on how much somebody wants to pay for a piece of property. That's on them, whether they choose to buy it at whatever price, right?
Yeah,
So,
I can't
but theoretically, then, the property appraiser has, in your math, could theoretically appraise it 82%, or whatever it is, with a 10% wiggle room. So if you're
Yeah, well, again, we'd have to justify to the Department of Revenue, we'd have to provide actual market evidence that says this is where we should be. And the likelihood of finding a transaction cost on average to be, in your scenario, 82% would be 18%, highly unlikely.
I just find that very contradictory with what's going on in North Florida. Interesting. Thank you for that level of detail. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Daniel.
I just had a question. In your presentation, you didn't say anything about raises. Are you?
We're going to do, I think, 10%, Commissioner. Just kidding. I was just trying to get some reaction here. We came in at 3%. 3%. It's my bad. My bad.
Well, I don't have a presentation, but thank you.
We want you to feel special, Mike, and make sure you go to this.
So how quickly
Is this?
does a home sales new price reflect on the property appraisers? I know there's software that automatically, like, supposed to, I don't know, I don't really
Does the sale price show up on our records?
Yeah.
So,
Wait for the
well,
deed
the
to be
deed is
filed.
recorded with the clerk,
Right.
and within a day or so, we get the deed in our office. It takes about a day or so for us to process. So in terms of processing time, 2 to 3 days, depends if there's a weekend in there. That's typically how it works. And you'll see it reflected in our online parcel detail pages, overnight. So we may process it today, tomorrow it'll show up.
So if someone bought a house, say for $1 million, and then you put it on the tax rolls the next day at 15% discounted from $1 million, or do you put it on the market?
Oh, no.
If that's what it's sold for,
yeah,
is that the value?
That's not how it would work. So we're mass appraising properties, because we're dealing with over 300,000 parcels. We can't go and assess one parcel at a time, and just say, okay, $1 million sale, we're gonna assess it at $850,000. So that's actually called, it's a specific term or phrase called chasing sales, which is actually frowned upon. It's illegal. It's not a professional practice. So what we do is we gather the transactions for similar properties, and we develop these base rates for that group, that property type. We apply that base rate uniformly. We make adjustments, the model that is, makes adjustments for the different characteristics of the home, like the age, the size, or whatever it may be. But we develop a base rate, and then it gets applied to that population of properties. That's mass appraisal. So, yeah, we would never get through
Is that,
300,000.
no, yeah, is that done manually, or is there an algorithm that?
No, we have an appraisal model, but we look at the sales ourselves.
Wow.
And then we have systems in place where I may take, I don't know, MetaPoint, for example, neighborhood on the east side. Pretty significant back in the day. There's more today than that, but MetaPoint, thousands of homes. Back 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it probably took 2 weeks to get through thousands of properties, thousands of different phases, that is. And Today, we can do that same neighborhood in a couple of hours. If there's problems with sales or we have to do more research, it may take a little more than that. But that's where we are in terms of the efficiency of being able to appraise basically 1,000 properties in like 2 hours. So versus a fee appraiser, they do one property,
Yeah.
and that takes them probably a few days, and they charge $450 per property. I think we're at $12, I think the number was.
Okay, so it doesn't go on, each house doesn't go on its market value, it's an average of a neighborhood.
Yeah, we develop the base rate, as long as our model is working, and that's part of our work, is that we make adjustments to the model and make sure that it's working for the sample.
So, Daniel, do you all start the appraisal process after the home is CO'd?
Yes, typically that's the way to do it. Substantially complete is the statute, the requirement. Once it's substantially complete, we can pick it up for the tax roll. So as of January 1, though, is the key date, so it has to be substantially complete as of January 1. Typically, we're looking for that CO as of that date. If it's not there, we're probably not going to pick up that property that year.
So your COs trigger your
Well,
portion of the.
The initial trigger is the final permit. That's the initial, that's what we see, and we're picking up on the final permit. Because in our eyes, substantial completion is a reflection of the final permit.
Is the county getting the CO or the final permit information over to their team timely before January 1? Because if we dump,
Yes.
I guess my question is, if we dump in by January 1 and at the end of a normal Q4, we dump however many on them, and then they're having to work overtime, double time, triple time to meet that January 1 deadline, is the county's side of the house efficient in giving them timely information that they can manage overtime or whatever goes in for them doing that work
I
to help
can-
keep their cost efficient?
I can help answer that, because we do have a really good relationship with the county and permitting. Generally speaking, we have an automatic report from Acela that we receive. And I believe we're set on a weekly basis. But there's no issue with us necessarily retrieving a lot of the data. It could be more efficient. It could be where it's a little more automated. But in terms of any delays, let's just say, for example, January 1 is our assessment date, and they give me the permits that were finalized the following week, the following month. It's irrelevant to us because, again, we're assessing as of January 1. So as long as we get it within the tax year, which is what we're talking about now for, the development of the tax roll for '26, we have essentially so right about this time of the year to figure out, okay, what actually finalized as of January 1 of '26. So we have this 6-month essentially period from January 1 to make sure that we did get all the permits. Are there hiccups once in a while? Sure. But for the most part, it's very efficient, and we have a good gap of time where we can catch up with anything that we may have missed or, got lost in the communication. So in terms of efficiency, it's there. I mean, it could be tweaked, but if you have a further answer to that, feel free.
I mean, because you don't have a full 12 months to do this. I mean, October
Essentially
1
half a
start,
year.
yeah, you have 6 months or less to pretty
Yep.
much have your final product
Yep.
ready to go. And
Yes, sir.
with the, work between the agencies, it's our responsibility to get you what you need on a timely basis, not drive up your costs because of something that our side of the fence is doing. And if we are doing that, be bluntly honest, and we will fix it.
Yeah, the only thing I would suggest is that we have just a little bit more cleaner connection to Acela. That's really it. Because right now, we're really, I mean, we have access to a seller. We get a report, essentially it's emailed to our office. But if we work through, say, something like an API, that we have direct access to that database, then, it could speed things up, and probably automate quite a bit of items. But that's more of an IT situation than,
Or wherever the,
Sure. But, I mean, in terms of, suggestion, that's probably my only suggestion. But overall, regardless, they do a very good job, and we do our best to make sure we caught them all, and we do some quality control, and it seems to be working.
well, I'm sure all of us hear critical comments about Acela. First time hearing it from the property appraiser's office. So it's really becoming truly universal. So if there's a way to work with IT and continue to work the bugs out and make it more user-friendly.
Sounds like it's an access issue, which sounds like that may be pretty
Well, we
easy
used to
fix.
have access, and now we don't. Now's not necessarily the time, but we used to have access, and I'm not sure why we don't anymore. There was some layers, but yes, it's not like we're going to go in there and mess anything up, but we,
Yeah,
but again, your team does an
Maybe it's
unbelievable
just your
job. Your
access,
IT
Mike, I
folks,
don't
everyone.
Well, I think there's been a couple iterations, of Acela, and whether that was a database issue, I don't know, but they went from phase one Acela to, or whatever, to the next version of it, and things got a little bit, missed in translation in those phases, but I think you're at a pretty decent spot at the moment. But could it be tweaked? Obviously, anything can be tweaked.
Well, if on our end, we need to add efficiencies and it keeps staff time down and every little bit helps. So anyway.
At 100%.
Absolutely, we'll take that for action.
And I think we've got David Allen here and Todd Bailey here, so message.
Oh, yeah.
taken, and we
Yeah,
will
we have
work
Mr. Bailey there, yeah.
We have to
They
work
can definitely
together
help us out.
To get you the most efficient way we can.
I appreciate it. And actually, Mr. Bailey, he's been really good with communicating with us. We've talked with him about, actually, we have a new product that we collaborated with that's called Vexel, the imagery, that we use for our aerials. We've had our hiccups for sure. But it looks like we received our deliverables here recently, and we're going through it, or actually sending the deliverable up to the Department of Revenue for their final check to make sure we can use it for certified aerials that we required by law to have. But part of the reason to have Vexel in this partnership with the imagery with the county, it has technology where we can automatically track changes year over year. And that's pretty big, because now we may not necessarily have to send a field man to go check, physically inspect the property to see if there was a footprint change, when we can essentially, part of it is AI, but see if the footprint actually changed through that aerial imagery. So Mr. Bailey has helped us through that, but, we continue to strive to improve those kind of relationships and technology for sure.
I don't think our taxpayers would mind if y'all actually didn't see something.
No,
Just saying.
I wanted to.
Very
But
true.
it's a good tool
Efficiency's
for
a
the county
double-edged
too, the
sword.
structural changes, like where it pulls up structural changes. Have you guys seen I'm assuming you guys have seen the new Vexel. It's pretty amazing where it's gonna help your permitting folks for unpermitted work when they see it. It's a good thing,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Mr. Stark?
I have one quick question. It's, something that, sorry, I keep going back to all the time to Mike. So we have some uses that are grandfathered in, specifically adult clubs. And it just gripes me that one, in my district pays
I understand.
$2,000 a year in property taxes.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering if there is a grandfathered use there, does that raise the value of the land, or where does that get captured?
That's something to consider, but we have to pay attention to what the current use is, and the actual structure that's on the parcel. That affects the valuation process. Could we look into the future, and estimate what that property, is what we would call highest and best use analysis. We can do that for up to, maybe a year or so. But 5 years down the road, it may, for whatever reason, they may demolish it and something much better, more productive, ends up getting built there, there's going to be more value. We can't make that leap from what's possibly going to happen with this property next year to what it may be doing 5 years from now. So when we talk about the potential use and use changes, that we have a very short leash as to how we can view that and value it.
So if it was
Mr.
sold for
Chairman, if I
$1.5 million, does that not affect
Say
the
that again?
value of it?
What was the number? I'm sorry?
1.5 million, a couple years ago.
The transaction that I think we discussed probably a couple of years ago, and that was a disqualified transaction. I think it related to something to do with the mortgage or something of a foreclosure issue. So we would not use that transaction for valuation. It's not a qualified sale. If it's the same transaction we talked about a couple of years ago.
Oh, that's interesting. Not a qualified.
Mr. Starsene?
Okay.
You need to remember the property appraiser's job is to assess the value of the land, not the potential revenue that may be flowing through a business. So it's,
Yeah, but if I just-
they're looking only at what
Construction.
what that piece of land
It's worth.
as a mass appraisal is worth, not what a particular business may be
True.
making an income.
You're absolutely right. We don't assess business value.
Okay.
Mike, I got a question for you. As far as the growth in recent years, and I'll go back to 2020, it looks like the value was about 40 to 45 billion. Now it's up much higher from that. We had a lot of residential growth that was in there, but there's also a lot of commercial. Do you guys have a breakdown as far as what the commercial growth numbers were then to what they are now? And what of that is brand-new buildings, but new commercial that you could show us?
We can get you that information. We absolutely have it. So yeah, we'll get it to you, I don't want to say today,
No, it doesn't
but
have to be today. I'm just
Positively,
interested.
our commercial director is there, so we might be able to put something
Yeah.
together.
Don't even need it today, but just something I want to have for future
Oh,
conversation.
good.
Thank you.
We'll do that
And
for
thank you
sure.
for doing a great job.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Daniel.
All right. Good job. We'll go tax collector, Mike Fasano.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Thank you for putting this together as well, and a big shout out to my colleagues, I guess you could say, the other constitutional officers. We all get along so very well, sometimes. But we have a great relationship in helping each out, and of course, the county is just outstanding as we reach out to them as well. And truly, I don't see this happening in other counties. I don't hear from our tax collectors, other tax collectors throughout the state, that they actually have these types of meetings. So, thank you very much. I can't present a budget to you because it's not due until July 1st. And I'm not coming back here after July, just so you know. But our budget will probably be, no different than in the past. Haven't decided what a pay raise we'll put into the Department of Revenue. I will tell you that we're going to spend a lot of capital next year. And the reason why I need to do this is if the amendment passes, let me put it this way, I'm going to give you a nice check this year.
Ding, ding.
It'll be the last ding, unfortunately. If this amendment passes, it will hit our offices big time. And I may explain. I serve between 50 and 60,000 people in our 5 offices each month. That doesn't take into account the thousands of transactions we do on our website or through the mail. 95% of the people that walk into our office, they're not there to pay their taxes. They're there for motor vehicle services. You talk about an unfunded mandate. Somebody that walks into our office for a driver's license, which is $54.25, I get $6.25. The rest goes to Tallahassee. Mr. Kabala walks into our office to renew his registration. It might be $50, $60, $70, $80. I get $2.50. The rest goes to Tallahassee. I lose $4 million a year on motor vehicle services. $4 million a year I lose. But it's a mandate that I provide those services. It's in Florida statute that the tax collector will provide those services. You talk about an unfunded mandate. So let's say this amendment passes. And all these property taxes that are no longer there, that I'm no longer collecting. People say, well, how do you make up that $4 million, Fasano? I make up that $4 million by the property taxes that I collect. Now, all of a sudden, those property taxes are no longer there. I ask the legislature, and they look at me and dumbfounded, and I ask, well, who's going to pick up this difference? Who's going to pick up this loss of $4 million a year? Because even when property taxes go away, guess what? I still have to serve those 50 to 60,000 people a month in my offices. For what? Motor vehicle services. So please understand that this will be the last check that I will give to you if this amendment passes. I can survive probably at just under 250,000 exemption. I can survive. After that, we are now in the red, and I have to start closing tax collector offices and laying people off. This will already happen in some tax collectors throughout the state, even at the $150,000. And I will give you, for instance, Hernando County is a perfect example. Hernando County has very, very, very little non-homesteaded properties. It's all homesteaded up there. They will get hit big time. Flagler County is another one. St. Lucie County is another. These counties will get hit big. We're fortunate. I have to tell you, I love now seeing apartment complexes being built. Bring in those car washes, storage units. I love them now. I used to get upset seeing them now. Not anymore, man. Bring them on in. Bring them in. Build. This is what keeps us afloat in that county. And so when, correct me if I'm wrong, Daniel, where he's gone, he left me. I think we're about 50-50 as far as homestead versus non-homestead in Pasco. So we're fortunate there. I need to let you know, though, it's going to be a tough ride if this amendment passes. People need to be educated to understand. It's very easy. Look, the average citizen walks into the booth and says, wow, we're going to increase your homestead by $250,000. They're probably going to vote for it. But the trickle-down effect, not only to the county, to our constitutions, but to my office is overwhelming, overwhelming. So we will see what happens. But I need to let you know that my offices will have to, some of them will have to be closed down. People will be laid off. And that 10-minute wait when you come in our offices is probably going to go to an hour and a half. So anyway, there's my presentation. Any questions? Please.
Mr. Whitman. Thank you. Well, I'm going to offend your colleagues, but you run a second to none
Well, thank you.
operation.
That's what I say all the time.
Truly mean it. Your team's fantastic. You walk in sometimes and it looks overwhelming and you're receiving service within 10 to 15 minutes.
Thank you.
Very personalized service by caring folks, and you've just done a tremendous job with how, with your team and how you treat people. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
We hear compliments all the time, no matter where your facility is. With your facilities, does Pasco County manage and maintain those facilities, or is that under his bucket of funds? So that's the one piece we do for the tax
We
Yes.
maintain
collector?
Yes, you've been great. The county has been outstanding. We have 5 facilities. Soon we'll have 6 with our new Angeline office being built. And when that's built, there's a possibility I may close our Land O'Lakes office, possibly. I know that the county would love to have that parking area. Yeah, they help us with our electricity, water, things like that. They've been very, very helpful. They're owned by the county, the buildings. One of the things that we're trying to do this year and over the next year, I rent a lease, if you will, our Wesley Chapel office, our support services office in San Ann, we lease that building. I'm trying to get out of the leasing business because if this amendment passes, I won't have the cash to do that. So while I have cash now, we're trying to build our support services. We're trying to, in the process of building a Wesley Chapel office, so we can keep them going not have to pay lease anymore, not have to pay, my Wesley Chapel loss cost me about $150,000 a year in lease payments. I'm trying to get out of that. Support service is the same thing. So my goal is to, before this amendment passes and has an effect on our office, try and get these buildings built so we don't have to pay any more lease.
On our side, board decision, but our customers have become so accustomed to the level of service they receive at the tax collector's office. I think it'd be important to understand what, within our budget, and obviously the scenarios that play out, what it would take to keep the doors open on the facilities that he's using.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yeah.
I don't want any money from you. We'll manage, and I really believe that as I talk to our legislative leaders who realize the impact that they've created for us. And I tried to tell them in January, came before the delegation, explained to them, this is what will happen to the tax collector's office. They were all like in shock. Wow, I never knew this. I never knew that. You're not funded with anybody else. No, we don't get any money from anyone. We live on our, when somebody walks through the door or pays their property taxes. I have a feeling that something's going to happen if this amendment passes, that they're going to have to do something, maybe increase the amount of money that we get to keep instead of sending it off to Tallahassee, to the trust fund. Representative Magater's already called me about that. He said that he and his colleagues are realizing the impact this will have on the tax collector offices. I already know of one tax collector that's not far away, who's a huge county, has told me that even at $150,000, he's got to shut down offices and lay people off. He's now going to bring in private companies to provide these services, which, by the way, they charge a lot more than what we can legally charge. I think we're going to be fine. I don't want any money from the county. I would never ask for. We're going to survive somehow, but I appreciate that.
No, it's when you have 50, 60,000 customers a month coming in.
Yes.
And that level of service and convenience goes away, those folks are going to be calling.
Well,
and they're
if they
going
voted
to.
for it, they're gonna deserve it.
I'm going to give them the
Irregardless-
legislators and the former governor's phone
Irregardless.
number is what I'm going to give.
We know how memories are, irregardless, that level of expectation and customer satisfaction has been set.
But you
And
know,
so-
Mr. Chairman, this is not, this amendment, if it passes, doesn't just affect us. It affects our property appraiser, our supervisor of elections. I mean, what's he going to do? Cancel an election because he doesn't have the money to keep them going? I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing, what happened in 2 days in Tallahassee. Something like this went through no committees. It was thrown to the floor of the House and the Senate and passed. It was embarrassing. And people up there voted for it. Because you know why? Because they wanted to protect their budget items. So the governor wouldn't veto them. That's why it was done so quickly. It's things like this that it just embarrassed me as a former legislator for 19 years to see this happen. We're going to survive. Everybody will survive. But I will tell you at some point, because not only do you have, it gets to the 250 mark, you have also that percentage that increases every year that gets us above the 250. If you notice on your tax notice, it's no longer $50,000 homestead. It's like 51, 52,000. It goes up a percentage now under the state constitution. So that's going to automatically rise after 250,000. So it's going to be a huge impact over the years. This is something that should have been put in place over a 10-year period of time, increasing homestead in a slow way, in an easy way, so our counties and our constitutions could handle it.
And something that Commissioner Waitman brought up that I never thought about on Tuesday was that it's gonna open the floodgates for people up north to wanna move down here where it's even cheaper. And so we're gonna be flooded
Yeah.
with people coming in, and maybe not people buying, $2 million homes, but the entry-level homes, and we're gonna have to provide services.
But let me, if I
This
may,
flood of people that are gonna move here.
the 5-year.
That's very scary.
The 5-year, by the way, this 5-year thing where you have to live in Florida for 5
That's gonna
years.
go out the window.
Of course it is. You know, I've lived here 54 years. And Mr. Commissioner Starkey, your family probably remembers way back when. It used to be, back in the 70s and 80s, in order to get homestead, you had to live in Florida for 5 years. That was thrown out by the Florida Supreme Court as unconstitutional. So no doubt this will get thrown out as well. So it's going to be a bigger impact than the estimate of what they're saying from Tallahassee.
Well, I want to say you've done a great job putting your voice out there, and actually you educated me a little bit more about the perspective of the licenses
Yeah.
and the taxes collected and how that's going to affect you dramatically. We looked at this when they first talked about at the start of the session, at $100,000 of this reduction, we couldn't pay all the public safety. We have to be mandated. We don't have the money for 911 on top of that. We're like $6 million short. When we went through 07, 08, when the tax bubble hit, and we had to cut parks and libraries 29%, remember people going to Hudson Beach or Green Key Beach, they couldn't afford to go, to spend the $2. And the money we collected probably just negated itself anyway for the labor involved. But the impact it's gonna have with the kids playing sports, which our people voted, they wanted better parks and libraries. They wanted
You've
to
got
tax
bonds.
themselves.
Our tax notice has 7 bonds on there. Now, those are set by millage rates. Now, one of the, they're looking at us in New York, wondering what's going to happen. The bond desk is looking, saying, what's going to happen to Florida with all these bonds that are out there? These counties and cities have them. There's no question, I can't speak on behalf of Mr. Carballa or Budget Director. There's no doubt you've got to increase the millage rate on those bonds. You've got to pay those. If you don't, they're going to go into default. We'll never get another bond again. Our rating will go down from A to who knows what. There's so much that's involved in this that they don't take this into consideration in Tallahassee.
And then, like you say, to do this in 2 days, and they talked about they couldn't get it through, and I get more complaints about insurance anyway. I mean, why that is not the number one, I don't know, but literally, just to go with 100,000, never mind 150, 250 following, we can't pay public safety.
That's right.
The way they want us to do it.
Yep. Well, I thank you very much. I can go home now, I think.
I thank you so much for put your voice up there, it's very helpful. Thank you. Okay. Sheriff Knuckles.
Well, I appreciate it. So, Senator, congratulations. He had not many people know. We know right now he had a big win yesterday in court.
Yes.
So that was a very big victory. And then the other one too is, I agree 100%. If we were the land of storage units and car washes, it'd be phenomenal. They do not call for public service. Chief Quinn can attest to. They're very great. They pay taxes and don't call us. So I appreciate it. So I just want to start. I've been blessed to have a phenomenal team. I want to thank them very much. All the women and men in the Sheriff's Office have been great, and the partnership with Fire Rescue has been growing more and more. As our budget, it's coming up soon, but as our budget will be proposed, it's from May 1st. So there's a couple things that have come up since then. One is 100% of our budget goes towards 80% of 100% of our budget, 80% goes to personnel, 20% for operating costs. There's one thing that's come up besides, we talk about the tax issue, but the retirement rates. We're waiting to see what happens, but that could be a $2.5 million impact just to the Sheriff's Office alone because of COLA increases. So we're going to wait to see what happens with that. So as our budget was proposed, we do not know what happens with that retirement rate, but that could be another $2.5 million from our budget that we're going to have to use towards that cost. And then, the taxable assessment, we're waiting for July, Mr. Wells, appreciate. So we'll find out soon enough what those numbers look like. So the biggest thing for us is pay raises. In our budget, you'll see there's no new deputies that we're asking for, it's pay raises. And I'll get into the slides later on, but we're just trying to stay competitive with the other people. 2 of our members were here back in 2012. You remember we lost over 100 members to different agencies. We were losing them left and right. And so plans were in place to keep up our budget. And you'll see, we're trying to stay competitive, everything, but it's not just sworn personnel. We lose civilians. We lose civilians to other county organizations. The pay raises are higher, they make more money, and so we're trying to stay competitive, not even from a civilian standpoint. The other part too is facing us is, they have signing bonuses. We haven't done signing bonuses, we don't have the ability. The way they do signing bonuses, I'll get into that, is they have vacancies. We don't have vacancies. Everything we get, we fill up as quickly as we can, and I'll explain a little bit further about that. So, as I said, no funds are going to certified personnel. for efficiencies, and I know this is gonna come out, we'll see what happens with the disaster relief funds, but we'll talk about drone first responder. That's a partnership that would make our county way more efficient, partnering with the fire rescue. But from that standpoint, you know, we're talking about how we consistently can get more efficient in everything that we do. And I'll talk more about drone first responders as we get into the slide, but that is something, if we can get the money through that disaster release fund, that'll be great. So I'm just gonna quickly go through the slides. And this is when I need readers, but I don't have them. So total number of budget personnel FTEs, 1223. Out of that, 757. So that is everybody in uniform, every sworn personnel. The one thing that's interesting for Pasco, it's not usually brought up, is the fact that that includes 35 SROs, school resource officers, 3 sergeants, and 1 lieutenant. So in areas like Pinellas and Hillsborough, they have their own school police. So that's something that, you know, it's unique for Pasco County that, you know, that is a budget cost to us that we take where in other places the school districts have that. So the 124 detectives are included in that 757. The total number of civilians are 466, but keep in mind, 120 of those are school crossing guards. So that is mandated, it's mandated in the county when developments are built up, you know, we get those assessments. So every year, you know, it could be 5, 10 different school crossing guards that we get required to hire. And so there's a lot of things that come down on unfunded mandates. And so that's, you know, we talk about those consistently, and that's one that comes down on us. You can see our vacancies. Now you see a lot of civilian vacancies. A lot of it are school resource officers. I mean, not school resource, I'm sorry, crossing guards. So they're retirees. We recruit very heavily, but at the same time it's hot, they're tired, they want to spend more time with grandchildren, they would do so. We have a lot of transition, a lot of turnover sometimes. And so that's the one thing. Command staff gets brought up a lot. That's only 3% of the organization. So only 3% is part, and that's actually low. The next slide is total personnel services. You'll see basically it goes same as probably the county. It goes to, you know, insurance, it goes to retirement, and it goes to pay salaries. So anticipated spending, you know, roughly $6.9 million, 5.9, so roughly $6 million is salaries, and I just got the nice word, I got tapped on the shoulder, appreciate it, that it may be 3%, so that's gonna go up slightly. So greatly appreciate it, we weren't, you know, expecting it, but any little thing helps because, as you'll see later on, you know, we have to stay competitive. Contractual services, 1.2 million. I know you all feel that pain too. You know, understanding, you know, you run the jail, you know those services, those contractual services escalate very quickly. So you understand the pain of what it's like and to handle that. Capital requests are low, and so I go back to there's no certified positions in this budget. One of the things, and you know, talk about efficiencies is that we do service aids, and so we recognize there's positions that a gun and badge doesn't need to go out there, a sworn personnel doesn't need to go, so we hire civilians to do stuff. So that's something that we've been doing is more and more, the more we can civilianize positions, it's cost effective for us. Going back to salaries of the other agencies, the next one. So this just hits just to hit home, you all feel it, we feel it. You know, when you bring in people, they're competitive, and I will tell you, it's not a Pasco thing. The state of Florida was behind the curve. So when defund the police happened, everybody from up north wanted to come south. They came to Florida. They wanted to come down here because the bonuses, because there's a place, you know, the communities wanted us to enforce the law. We did that. The issue we face now is, you know, people, you know, this next generation, not as many want to get into law enforcement. The numbers aren't there. And as I said, it's not a Pasco thing. This is a general consensus across the board. You talk to other sheriffs, you talk to other agencies, it's less people wanting to get into it. I'll tease the chief, it's attractive now to be a firefighter. Very attractive. And so that's where, you know, people are aggressive, they want to get into public service. You know, do I become a deputy or become a firefighter? There's a lot more that are leaning to be firefighters now, and so I understand that. And so that's where I say, you know, we have to be competitive. And then you look at salaries. You know, Tampa PD is almost at $75,000, plus they get bonuses, and then more bonuses if you live in the city. Hillsborough is right up there, Pinellas, Polk County, you know, and they get up to $25,000 in bonuses. And so that's something they look at. You talk about in sports free agencies, it's free agencies in law enforcement too. They're going to go where the money is. And so that I don't blame them either. I understand that you're out there risking your life doing things. And so that's why for years we've been trying to build a culture, but at the same time we've had this, people say it, I love the culture here, I love what's going on, but I got to put shoes on my kids' feet, they're growing, I got to, you know, get new jeans, I gotta put them in school, I gotta get them in sports, so they understand and they say, look, it's just, I'm gonna get a few dollars more for going somewhere else, it makes sense, and we can't argue that.
Can I ask you a question? So
Yeah.
what is Pasco? Where do you guys start at?
So we will be at, if everything goes through, 65 and slightly higher if we get to 3%.
Okay.
So we'll be, yeah, so we're trying, but the thing is, remember, all these agencies, this is last year, they're all going up too.
Gotcha.
So we're just trying to catch up.
Right.
So that's the big thing for us, is that we're consistently trying to catch up to everybody, same as everybody in this room. Everybody feels the pain, but we're trying to catch up. It's not just law enforcement, it's on the civilian side too. So our biggest operating, retaining new members, if we lose, it costs way more to lose members and have to retrain somebody else. That is probably, from a business model, is the worst thing we can do, is start losing people, because then, as we've talked about before in the past, you all understand, you're dealing with trying to recruit somebody, put them through the academy, because now, nobody really goes through unless we sponsor them. Now we're sponsoring through the academy. Now we're putting them through field training. Now, by the time they hit the street, you're almost like 2.5 years later, they're on the street. You're way behind, and so it'd been cheaper just to pay and give salary up front. The capital costs, a contract needs and state mandated retirement, went through that, but the future capital needs. So that's the one thing, and I'll go through drone first responder a little bit, just so you understand the efficiencies. If we can get a drone out there quicker than we can get a human being as 100%, and we can get oversight of what's happening. So I'll give you a couple examples you may have heard of, but have illustrated it very well. So we have a pilot program down in Holiday. There was a young teenager, he wanted to commit suicide, he ran from his house. It was on the west side of 19, units couldn't get there quick enough. They're going code, but they can't get there. The young boy's running, he's got a weapon in his hand. The drone takes off from the school where we have the test pilot at. They're able to spot the kid, it's up high enough, he doesn't realize it's there. They're able to find him, spot him, he's hiding under a neighbor's house, a couple blocks away. And then our deputies are able to converge right on him, get him help, get the assistance they need. If that drone hadn't done that, what would have happened is they would have went to the house, checked the house, call units to start a perimeter up, start a perimeter. Now we have multiple units on a perimeter. Then you call the dog. Then you call a unit with a drone to put the drone up. So those are the type of things that would have taken hours probably to find this young man, and it took moments. The other one too is you talk about efficiencies. We don't fly the helicopters except for emergency situations. So we only fly the helicopter when required. If we're working with fire rescue and we're putting a Bambi bucket out because there's a fire and we're dropping the Bambi bucket. If we're going into a location and we have to harness somebody down to save them, we drop the harness down and we save them. If we have to have a tactical situation, we have to put people up. That helicopter costs a lot of money. Is it critical? Absolutely 100%, because if not, the fires in this county would have spread a lot quicker and a lot faster had those Bambi buckets not been there. But if it's a situation where we can throw a drone up, you're talking pennies on the dollar compared. So we're always looking at efficiencies, and it will now, because I appreciate y'all giving the money for the new helicopters. Those helicopters, they're 2006-year-old helicopters, but they will last a lot longer now because we're not flying as much because we're flying the drones. The other one is the partnership with fire rescue. We can fly those drones up. If there's a fire, we can actually go overboard and see what's happening, give them a perimeter of what's going on, where the fire is. There was actually a warehouse that there was an air conditioner unit on fire. It would have taken hours for them to search the building, but the drone was able to go on top of the heat sensor, see where the fire was, and it was an air conditioning unit that was sparking up. We're able to work together on that. The other one efficiency is when people call 911, we understand that they're panicking, they're scared, they don't know what's happening. So they may say, oh my gosh, there's a crash at 19 and 52 and there's bodies everywhere and there's cars all over the place. And then they drove past. Well, by the time deputies get there, we're like, okay, there was one guy standing outside of his car, it was a fender bender on the side of the road. But fire rescue sending as many units as they can. We're sending units, we're calling FHP to send the cavalry, and then we get there and it's a fender bender with somebody standing outside of his car, and everybody's kind of like, what are we doing? What we got called it. So if we can send a drone up, the drone will see what's happening, give a better response, and then we can dispatch appropriately to what we need. So we're creating efficiencies. So besides disasters and storms and planning things out, the efficiencies are there. So I said, if there's a capital need that comes out of the disaster relief fund, that's something that would make us more efficient, because I go back to, we're not able to hire new deputies because of budget restrictions, but at the same time we have to look at those force multipliers that are making a difference out there. So, I know I said a lot, appreciate it. I know you're all tired, but That's the budget, and I'm sticking to it. Until we get our 3%, and Mike Wells brings us our real numbers.
Thank you. So, thank you, Sheriff. Within your procurement process, when you're senator, since you know the benefit of your procurement process, city and county's procurement processes based on, and Eric and Carrie can give you all the bloody details that we have to deal with on how long it takes, how it increased cost on contracts, and time is money. I guess it's probably a difficult question to answer, but how much money do you think you all save, if it's even possible, every year based on your less constricted procurement process that sheriffs get to enjoy across the state?
So, Commissioner, I'll tell you that, it's like crime prevention. You can't say how many crimes you stopped because you did crime prevention messaging, but I will tell you that our procurement process is extremely efficient in the fact that we do still go out to bid. We handle the bid process, we look at things, but at the same time is the efficiency at which we can operate is extremely fast, and we've consistently heard that it's hard to deal with counties, but counties in general, because procurement processes, the way things operate, the way the bidding process operates. The other one too is going to the lowest bidder isn't always the best option. I mean, if you're building a building and, the building literally costs $10 million and it's only bids 2.5, there's no way a $2.5 million compared to everybody's bidding at 10 is gonna be good. So that is something that, common sense tells you that, but unfortunately, the restrictions you all have is tight, and so I can just, there's things, God willing, that when there is the hearings in November where, county hearings and we talk about legislative issues, God willing, that day we can have another conversation, but as for now, as my position as sheriff, I can tell you, you're spot on. I think it is way more efficient that the Constitution, that as sheriff, we can operate and purchase items than it is handling the way the commission has to do it.
It would be, I know it's probably impossible, but I'm sure just based on time alone and all the staff time and the processes that go along with it, there's such a significant savings, and then it can take the public dollar and put it to work for what it's intended to in the procurement. So I think that's incredibly important.
Oh, yeah.
To all of us here. We're ready to not be, and staff too, to not be handcuffed with the expense of the procurement process. With the SROs, your department absorbs it. Did I hear you correctly that school districts could theoretically absorb the SRO cost?
So we do it about 50% ratio because we estimate about 180 days school and then the rest of the time. But training and everything else, I can't speak for Superintendent Legg. I don't think they can, I don't think the way their current budget is now, they can take it. You're talking historically, Pinellas has been doing it for years. I forget how long Hillsborough's been doing it, but I don't know how, I can't speak on his behalf. I'm almost positive that he can't just take it over and absorb it now. But I think, that is, especially the school crossing guards, that unfunded mandate, when people we need 2 more crossing guards. Those things come out of our budget, or we need 3 more, depending on schools coming up online. People don't consider that, that's an unfunded mandate on the sheriff's office to take care of.
Is anybody familiar, do we know what you all spend approximately a year on the program, off the top of your head?
$2.5 million.
2.5.
Is that just for crossing, or is that everything? Just crossing guards.
Does that factor in head count for 1 or 2 a year, 3 a year, depending on how projects? Once a year, the schools come based on the school? Okay. It's about 2.5. So I'm sure you guys your team's more comfortable having, training those folks for all the
They have to
reasons
fall
out.
under us. So even in Hillsborough and Pinellas, they fall under the sheriff.
So do they receive a reimbursement from the school district there?
I don't know how they handle it.
Interesting. I can tell you very much appreciate how y'all manage your head count.
I appreciate
It helps us see the actual picture, and you use and hire folks that you need and don't hold those vacancies. That's a big deal in the budget. So very much appreciate over the last couple of years, y'all taking a look under the hood and giving us money back and helping us as we navigate the difficult budgetary decisions that we are fortunate to make. But thank you, Sheriff. Thank you for being here.
Appreciate it.
So we're discussing, and I wanted to get your opinion on it, on school safety cameras. With the research I've done, the school safety cameras, they're only permitted and operated in FDOT-defined school zones. There are some counties like Miami-Dade, they've caught people speeding in the 90s, 93 miles per hour. They would be on 30 minutes before, 30 minutes after when schools are present, never on the weekends, holidays, when school's out. What are your thoughts on that?
So I can tell you is that speaking to my colleagues down in Hillsborough, they said it's been very effective.
Yeah.
It works. They've caught speeds that are just, I was shocked when they sold the number. I'm like, I can't believe like people are actually flying through the school zones that much. So that is something that, you know, if the board agrees and says they want to move forward with it, I would probably follow the Hillsborough model. Only because the safety issues that I've seen down there, but it's one of those things that I'm not sure about how Miami works, but I would tell you that, you know, we can't be everywhere all the time, but it's school zones are, I think, one of those, you know, I understand how people have issues about red light cameras, but I think school zones are one of those zones that it's like, that's little kids walking.
Yeah, right.
Like that is, it's a sacred area that people are like, I get that.
Right.
If it's 54 and 19, people are kind of like, okay, it's a big intersection, like people, but if it's right in front of a school, I think people look at it differently.
I think they give you like an 11-mile-hour grace period, you know, so it's not even like they nab you right away.
It's better than troopers.
Right. And the other thing is, the other part of it that I wanted to throw at you was, out of the money collected, you know, there's a breakdown that goes to the county, to the school board, to the sheriff. I don't even know if, you might not get any, but I was thinking that every penny that we collect could go to sidewalks in school zones. And then once they're, you know, we can keep expanding the sidewalks out to make it safe for the children.
Right.
Because, you know, if it prevents one fatality, they've done their job.
No, it's interesting, Commissioner, it's interesting you say that because I was just thinking as you're saying that, you know, we have those 56 vacancies and most of them are school crossing guards. That may help, they actually may reduce our school crossing guards from leaving.
Yeah.
That's actually one of their biggest issues. They
But
yell
they're
at us.
afraid they're gonna get run over.
Oh, I can tell you stories where they pulled hair dryers out there pretending that they were doing running radar on people just to slow them down. And we're like, you can't.
That is great.
Yeah, I'm like, you can't do that. So, like, but they get very, so if they know that, I think that actually helped me reduce the amount of people that leave because they get very up. And I get it, rightfully so, they're upset. They want us to go out there. We don't have enough deputies. Even though over the past year, we went from 20,000 traffic stops to 35,000 traffic stops because we hear the complaints, you know, the commissioners and everybody else saying, you know, we need more traffic, so we're trying to find efficiencies. And to the other point is, yeah, I don't think, you know, it's the same as, you know, with the tickets. Everybody thinks, oh, you know, they remember years ago where people get tickets like, oh, the sheriff's office is running tickets because you need to build your budget up. We don't get the money. I'm like, so the same thing with this. So we don't get the money. So if it goes towards, you know, to sidewalks, that's a good thing.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Starkey.
I just want to compliment the sheriff's office and Chase, who I work with a lot in my district, catching the new phenomena of young, mostly men, young boys, speeding on those motorcycle bikes, and going in inappropriate places. We even had some kids with four-wheelers with snorkels, whatever they're called, going into the mitigation ponds and tearing them up in Longleaf and just tearing up the community. So we've caught quite a few. And also the racers on Strawber. Twice now we've caught the motorcycle racers going up and down Strawber because I can hear them from my house in Gulf Harbors. And they're on it and they've been given tickets. So it's been absolutely wonderful, so thank you. And I get a lot of complaints about those.
Well, it's interesting you say that. I mean, last year from the commission, there was over 1,000 calls, and I appreciate Chase taking, you know, he gets over 1,000 calls last year just from the commission alone about that. Now he's pacing over 600. So you're breaking the record this year already. But no, we understand that that's an issue, that's a concern, and so we hear that directly, that, you know, those calls, you know, people are upset, and the issue we have is that, you know, we're on the domestics, we're on other calls for service, and we're trying to get there, and by the time you can actually get there, these kids are gone. But I know those e-bikes, I think from a bigger perspective, has to be addressed.
Yeah.
Because those e-bikes, it's
It's
not
all
just
has-
the kids, but these people are driving those things
Yeah.
all over the place, and it's horrible.
So the other number that, looking at your budget book here, that is really frightening, and we hear it, is the increase in the schools with the bomb threats. Do you see any decrease, or is it still escalating?
It's
How-
escalating.
What can we do as a society? My God.
So the problem we face is the same, so I can imagine, it's technology that we're not able to, unfortunately, it can be, how many people in here have gotten a call for service about a warrant from the sheriff's office? I mean, like everybody, because that's a big scam now. I mean, everybody gets that scam that, and it's people are calling from all over the world, they're calling from all different places, and they're saying you have a warrant from the sheriff's office, and people are getting scammed by it. The same thing with school threats. These are coming in from all over the world, they're coming from all over, and so it's hard for us to catch up. We were able, actually, there's been several cases where analysts were able to identify people because of that, so that's what we were able to catch them, but I think there's over 420 school threats last year. Definitely went up, and so we're seeing that the problem is, it's just some of these calls, we're able to find out who did it, we're able to take care of it, but the majority of them are from outside the area, they're spoofed, and if this says, we're gonna shoot up SHS, you know, for us on Lake High School, for Hillsborough Steinbrenner. So everybody starts running to wherever it is, so that becomes a major issue, but the technology is just overwhelming. But I will say this, the overwhelming response of the deputies have been great. I mean, everybody's like, hey, what's going on, what's that? We get that, because people are concerned, but at the same time the response has been great, and it goes back to it, now what we're seeing, you know, with the teen, and I hate saying teen takeovers, they're not takeovers, they're riots. Like when they're taking over streets and they're doing, so that has been the next phase, but that's a technology issue too. Because now they're going on using technology to go. Now, the one thing is people show up, and when they show up, we can handle it. But at the same time, it's trying to catch technology ahead of time to stop them from trying to stir everybody up.
It's a problem.
Okay.
Okay, that was it for me. Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Thank you.
So I'll come back to you, but, so I'm glad you brought up the school-related expenses that we've got. So I think we should be studying to what others are doing, because if we're shouldering the burden, and again, with this budget amendment coming forward, if we're the ones eating up have to eat the big cuts coming up, that we need to go look at what others are doing, because others are doing it differently. If we've just done it because we thought it was the right thing to do and efficient to do, then we should be penalizing ourselves coming up and let that be put on the state to let them go put it back in the school's budget, as opposed to us, whereas they do set what their budget's gonna be. I know, and I'm glad Commissioner Wayne brought up as far as like bidding cost, et cetera. When you were running the jail, you could probably do things a little bit cheaper than we could do it. And I think from the numbers we're seeing, the 10% change is probably closer to 13%. So we're trying to work our way through that. Maybe we'll get some better results coming up, but we're got to shoulder that money. And frankly, as I mentioned earlier, when they put the $100,000 number that were floating out there earlier this year, we did our number calculations, just funding public safety, not just you, not the sheriff's office, but with fire EMS, we were $6 million short, not counting 911. So this budget of $150,000 is going to be huge. We're going to need your help up there as far as really looking at what they're doing to try to get these things squared away so that we're not going through. Because, you know, we work very closely together trying to make sure when we had the deputy shortage, when everyone was leaving, that to put a 3-year plan together to go increase the salaries. We kept up with that every step of the way because we don't want to see it. Just like we've improved with fire EMS on our end, that you got to pay people and your salaries. We got salary increases too. So why we're being hit so hard is like it's been because we've been so efficient. I mean, it's not just one department. I think the whole county's been very efficient how we spent our money. And being 91% unincorporated, we don't have the extra budget that the cities get when they put their numbers in. So what our people are actually paying are worse, but when you look at it, just a chart to say, look at the numbers here for the growth, and we're getting whacked for it, and it's gonna hurt us harder than most counties in the whole state. So
Yep.
we're gonna need your help as we look through that. Commissioner Yeager.
So I have a question, for the drones. How many schools do you currently have them on top of the rooftops?
It's a test case on top of one.
Okay, so one. So my question is, like, if we could expand the drone program and and you had a drone within a certain mile radius of the schools, because like if you have an active shooter or something like that, that drone's there in a heartbeat, you know, and I worked at River Ridge, right?
Right.
So when you have River Ridge Middle and High School, that's a large area to cover. So if you had a drone, it would easily be able to say, here you are, right? So how much, with the money allocated to drones, would they be on top of the schools, like spread out, or where would you
Yeah,
go
so
on that?
that's what we work on schools, so that on the numbers, you know, if they're long-term, unfortunately with technology, we have to go leases because the technology, if we bought a capital item of technology, it's gonna be outdated within weeks. So that's why we have to do that, because as you get it actually gets the updates and everything. So for the 9 million, we get 20 docks over 10 years. And so with those 20 docks, they would be all over the schools. And so we have the zones where the most amount of activity where calls for service between us and fire rescue occur. So we would be fundamentally over those areas, but it would cover a large part of the county. The other part too is with technology with the upgrades. So when you get 20 docks, the amount of drones, you're just talking about one drone. So right now, a loiter time for a drone is probably about 35 minutes. But if you go, you know, longer, if the next generation drone, maybe 45 to 50 minutes. So as they keep building out, you get the updated drones. They come with the, you know, long-term lease. So especially the fixed-wing drones, we may be looking at an hour to an hour and a half loiter time. So that means we can get out further, be there quicker, and then be over the area. But it really just comes down to efficiencies. But then also, you know, there's other parts of this. It's not just about public safety. You know, before a storm, where public works and everybody has to, where's our flooding, you know, is everything cleaned up, and we can get better visual to see what's happening. All the, you know, the big thing now with insurance companies are they want to make sure that you have pictures of everything before a storm and then after the storm. So these drones can go up, start taking video photographs of all county buildings to see what's going on. And we did it last time, but it took human beings to do it. This now would be automated, be able to fly. And then the other one too is, right now we're using civilians to fly these drones, because another part, why use badge and gun when you can put civilians? Eventually, the technology will be flying itself. So we want to, you know, then we can utilize those personnel for other things.
Okay. And then I just have a comment that I want to say, your community engagement team is absolutely phenomenal. I bring them out to Moon Lake with me because it's just a safety thing. And you know, people before, our numbers dropped when they saw them. And now our numbers, we fed 236 families last time, because now your guys are on the truck, they're helping unload the food, they're joking around with the residents. And it's just been like this really great partnership. So I just want to give a shout out to them, because they really are so friendly and make everybody very comfortable, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Whit, thank you. Sheriff, looking at the neighboring agencies with polls, bonus structure, are they capping the number at like 10 or 20 deputies? How are they, do you know what their model is, other than here's what it is, but is it, you know, for 10 or 15 years? I don't know how many incorporated cities they have within Polk, but.
Oh, they got a few incorporated.
Yeah, they've got a handful.
But I think this is just, usually the way I've seen in the past is they say for the next year or 6 months, if you get hired in this time period, this is what the bonuses will be and this is everything. But I can't tell you, I don't know directly how Polk is doing it. I've known how other neighboring areas did it, was because they were carrying so many vacancies that they used those vacancies to pay for the bonuses. And then once they probably hit a certain number, they said, okay, vacancies were filled, we hit the number, we're done doing the bonuses.
Kind of did that at the jail,
All right.
trying to get workers, I think.
So I have a question. So let's say this property tax thing passes, right? And you get 50% of our budget, right? And we have, in 5 years after we have an influx of people moving here and they're no longer paying taxes, our population is going to grow by leaps and bounds. And you need more deputies on the road because we have a ton more people. What does that look like for you if we don't have the money?
Technology, so I can get into a whole long conversation, but technology is going to take over every one of our professions. Like it or not, it's the wave of the future, it's the way it's gonna happen. We see it in law enforcement not only because of efficiencies in operation, but because, one, not many people, I go back to what I said earlier, not many people want a badge and gun. They're not getting that. We're behind the curve, but nationally, but it's hitting us that people don't want to get in this profession. The technology is there, so I can tell you, we have technology in place now that, we have analysts, civilian analysts that do a phenomenal job. If it wasn't for them, the amount of detectives, we would need way more detectives. So that's why I said, like, I think everything that everybody's gonna be doing is more technology based, and, you know, we're customer service, but we're not like, you know, some of the other constitutional offices where people have to be there because nobody wants the robotic person to handle that. We're still gonna have people up front, but behind the scenes, there's gonna be so much of our operation that's gonna have to keep going towards technology that, that's the way I see the future, and that's where I see, you know, cost escalators are gonna keep going up that way. But personnel costs, because if you're not gonna be able to hire people, or because the money's not gonna be there, we're gonna have to rely more on technology.
And technology costs a ton of money too.
Oh yeah, technology costs a lot, but at the same time that's why I say, like, I think in the future, with civilian, we're gonna, you know, as we're leaning more towards civilians to do work out there on the street, I think the law enforcement portion, they're gonna be door kickers. Like, they're gonna be, there's a domestic, there's something going on, they're kicking in doors, they're doing the things that you know, cop shows are based on. A lot of things that we do now, we go out there and handle that, you know, people saw on live PD, but those are things that we're gonna have to rely on other people to do because we're gonna have to narrow down the functions of what law enforcement can handle.
Other questions?
Nope.
All right.
I appreciate it,
Let's get
Sheriff.
to our
Thank you very
budget.
much.
So we're gonna take a break and look at the.
5 minutes? Yeah.
All right, so I'd like to thank all the constitutionals for coming here.
Well, you're welcome to listen
Great,
to our
appreciate
budget.
it.
Oh, no, thank you.
I will take a 5-minute break.
5 minutes.
And we got a lot going on.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, God bless you. Thank you. Judge, I emailed you the, okay, great.
It was approved.
I stand corrected, it was June.
I know, my staff told me.
So I'm gonna give you my name, you're now going to find a way.
I'll take it, thank you. No, just happy, thanks for the money, appreciate it. Lisa.
Yeah, and I told him to get my name.
What, I'll take it.
He is finishing his first year of residency. He's in Arizona.
Thank you, how are you? Yeah, I'm guessing I'm not here anymore.
Lives in Tucson.
Does he like it out there?
It's hot.
Yeah. It's nice in the winter, I'll tell you that much.
Yes, he does.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
so
exciting.
proud of him. He was just here the end of May on vacation, and so it was good to spend time with him. We try to go back and forth between each other.
I couldn't, I mean, first year residency, that's gotta be.
Good, how are you?
Yeah. That's a big deal. Jeffrey Dahmer's parents said that, right? Yeah. So cool, man. I love that. Made my day. My daughter is in the Navy, active duty military, and she just made, last time I saw you, she made chief, which is a huge ability, huge. So she's out of Washington State right now, and she, about 2 months ago, she told me she had her assignment, her next assignment as chief. She's going to be a support role for SEAL Team 8. She's going to be the SEALs. Obviously a support role.
Yeah, but still, that's really impressive.
Apparently there's a really good detail, like one of her friends told me, it's sea duty, but you're not on a ship, which is ironically enough in the Navy, that's the dream. You think you want to be on a ship, but when they travel, like not the SEALs, it's the chief radio's. They stay in Marriott hotels, so it's a pretty good detail. So yeah, so 26. I always think about you guys when I was over once a week, we moved we have definitely sold off. Right, yeah. So once we'll do a walk around, and I'll go by the sheriff's office.
I always think of the fun times we had,
There was some fun times. Especially, what was the union thing you at Marriott that I used to go to? The Party Central thing, remember that? Checking in, remember they gave you drinks at a bar? Yeah, I do.
Just if it makes you feel good, I don't tell people about that story.
No, you should, it's funny.
Thank you.
Yeah, they always timed us over with the Super Bowl, didn't they? Yeah, that was. But it was interesting. They were actually kind of it was a sweet spot. A lot of partying. Yeah, exactly. So you guys, you think we're going to do your budget predictions? If this amendment goes through, I'll think a little bit through. I have to be careful. I can't publicly support or oppose it as being one of my jobs. So, but I'm like, mother of God, like.
I know, but they like
You see the ballot language is so deceiving. This is really deceiving, like saving taxpayers from excessive overtaxing. And then my favorite is, actually, Fasano picked up on it, and I was at a conference and I was able to talk to someone very high in the sector. It says, the 150 in 2027, then 250. The language that go on the ballot just says 250. It's deceiving.
Right.
I mentioned that to Jennifer Kennedy's name, and she smiled. She goes, let's let you on the ballot. Like, it was delivered. I'm like, now you're just being dicks.
You still standing. I know for a while maybe we were talking about things during.
Yeah, it's not much fun anymore. And I'm at 34 and a half years. So, in fact, I had a staff meeting the other day. That's what I had to say. The black guy was working on 8 City Tyrone radio. Here's that guy. He's like, they call him radio because the radio is but he's everywhere. Apparently, I'm like, there's a rumor going around that I'm running again. So it's funny to me because I've decided. And they're like, radio. So like one kid, he's like 30 years old walking around, he's president. But there's some days I'm like, why do I want to do this anymore?
November was 35 years.
Isn't that crazy? Are you doing rough thing or not?
So I'm going to drop it 2 years.
Okay, nice.
July will be 2 years. The end of this month will be 2 years. I plan on doing 5. You never know what happens right between now and obviously this year was a much 8. Right, but we'll see.
Talk about big shoes to fill, right? It's gonna be tough.
Yeah,
Are you staying for this thing?
No.
Getting out of here. Yes, it's so good to see you. Yeah, good.
And I will talk to you. Take care, Rob.
God, we're gonna see you in a couple days, man. Yeah.
Trying to ride the wave.
How are you? Okay. Daddy's really struggling.
I'll get, if I try, like, can you go for a nice Pasco? I'm like, and then I'm down here right now, so I'm like,
Unfortunately, that really happened.
basically, say her daughter played volleyball and stuff like that. I guess my numbers are pretty off. It's as if I was all right. Yeah, because she's. All right, here we go.
It's kind of like when I go into sports and I always So everybody who walks in and sits down, they go, oh, thanks, man, the rating. Oh,
I know that before. No, I'm good. I know it's. And then now you come back.
I know, I was gonna go. I'm gonna go with it. It'll be a struggle the other way because there's not a lot of interaction.
You brought him on the chair.
They tell a pretty good story about me storming out of court one day with my robot. Word got to me that.
Yeah, we've talked
about it.
Yes,
All right. But it's free.
I'm the show.
Maybe I'll get to see you again soon sometime.
I would be great.
No. I know, right? Next time I make some treats, I'll give you a buzz.
That's great.
Where is it? It's over there?
No, it's the red one.
No.
It's the red one.
Get our sidewalks.
And it really is, we're at that stage in life. Compared to like weddings.
Not many weddings.
That's what I'm saying.
I bet you I'm going to them.
It's just
Probably a dozen.
yeah, it's a baby drawer now, having to go away.
It's like, what the heck?
Let's get going.
Really?
See if it starts.
You don't want to have that vertigo? Oh, I had everything in my body. And 6-month check. Dana.
So we convened the Pasco County workshop. And Mike, you want to lead it off, or?
Well, I was just going to introduce our budget director, Amy Farrell here, who, or affectionately known as Accurate Amy, to lead us in a conversation regarding the fiscal year 27 budget. Amy.
All right, so let's jump into our agenda. We're gonna talk high level about the budget cycle, what work has been accomplished, what work is still left to be accomplished. We're gonna walk through the strategic priorities that the board has set for us through this budget cycle. We'll talk about some budget efficiencies that we've seen over the years that the team's worked on, some pretty stellar operational improvements. We'll walk through what we know our expenses to be, those pressures on our budgets, the underlying assumptions. We'll have a discussion on the general fund, and of course, we'll talk about our approach to taxation and millage rates. All right, so there's not a whole lot that's changed from the past few times that you guys have seen this slide. January, we start talking strategic priorities. February, we start talking revenues. A lot of work happens behind the scenes with our departments to really sharpen the pencils on the needs that they have for the upcoming year. And then we come back here and we brief you all and say, how are we doing in terms of hearing the strategic priorities and building a budget around those, and then talking through any challenges or pressures that we know are on the horizon. One change this year is we did combine, as you saw this morning, our constitutional officer budget workshop with our board workshop. Again, just a very unique cycle, and so had to, maintain maximum flexibility and pivot on some timing. And then, as Mike said, we did split the content of the typical workshop you would see in June, and we'll be discussing capital at a later date to make sure we have time to really focus on the operational challenges that we're facing. And then we'll come back in July and we'll set trim, and we'll talk a little bit about that process later today. And then we will adopt the final budget in September. All right, so if you had your strategic plan in front of you right now, you would notice that almost every one of those addressable challenges the board has charged us to tackle this year, and I'm very proud to present a budget that will be addressing those, and a lot of it is flat. The team has done a great job keeping budgets flat everywhere we possibly can, and they're still moving the needle on the board's strategic plan. All right, so we do want to talk a little bit about some of our operational efficiencies. So for this fiscal year, the board approved a position that's coordinating volunteers, and we wanted to come back and show the board the value that that volunteer coordinator has given us. So we've received we have 6 months of data. So what this position has been able to assist in accomplishing for the county is over 25,000 hours of volunteer service. That equates to 24 full-time FTEs. And the payroll equivalent, $480,000 for 6 months. So if I were to just do a straight line trajectory, we're talking about over $800,000 ROI on a roughly $80,000 position. That's pretty phenomenal. And so we've got a committed community, and we've got someone who knows how to help that committed community assist us in some pretty unique ways. So I'm not going to belabor the point, but I will highlight a few things. So when we look at, like the pantry at the one-stop shop, we've got volunteer there, and they're not just checking people in, but they're helping us pack the food, nope, I moved on to a different one. That was our senior services. The pantry at the one-stop shop. Oh yeah, no, they're distributing and packing, and they're providing customer service. I was right, I have my notes right. Trust yourself, Accurate Amy. We do have a KitchenAid helping us in the Senior Services Center, and so they're helping prepare meals for both in our senior centers and also for our delivery services. And then this one's pretty cool, CERT volunteers supplementing our activities during activation. So we're ramping up that program, so when
We just did a big
Yep.
training in Gulf Harbors. Yeah.
That's awesome, right? So,
Yep.
so we have a community who cares and they're giving back. All right, so now let's talk, and I'll talk high level about each of these. So we've worked as a board, as a team, to really look at finding operational improvements everywhere we can. So consolidated 911 services. So this is a huge deal because we are streamlining our dispatch and our call taking for the entire county to include all of the cities. We'll call it a one-stop shop for making sure that we've got the right equipment and the right people going out to the right calls based off what we're getting, and there's no transferring of calls, and so really how fast can we get from we've taken the call to we've got the right type of services for what's happening. Pre-hospital whole blood program, making sure that we're able to, I don't want to mess this one up, guys. We've equipped first responders with unseparated blood to administer at the scene of an injury. This is increasing survivability for patients suffering from, I'm not going to say this word right, hemorrhagic shock or massive blood loss. Pretty cool. We all know about D shift, so people is at the heart of what we do, our culture, and so we said, how do we stay competitive in a market that's very competitive? And we said, well, we have to make sure that we're taking care of our people, and I think D shift is the example of innovation in making sure that we're able to retain good, competent staff because we care about them and we're gonna take care of them. And so D-Shift is a great innovative example of that. Preventative road maintenance. So we've turned our old, outdated process of paying for road maintenance, and we've been able to find a way to fund good, scientific, backed research priorities to make sure that we are maintaining roads at the right time, at the right place, before it becomes overly expensive. And then general government efficiencies. So in here are kind of a lot of things. So our Lean Six Sigma program, where we look at process efficiencies, and that is, we are accredited now, so when our team gets staffed up with this belt, with those belts, it's good everywhere. And we're making sure that the county is also getting a good return on investment. So I'll give you one example. Fleet preventative maintenance, tweaked our process for fleet preventative maintenance, saving county departments $300,000 a year because we're getting stuff in at the right time before it becomes a bigger problem. And then also just looking at how we run some of our support services. So when you look at the lean staffing for our facilities department, right? One of Commissioner Waitman's unfunded mandates, right? We're mandated to provide and maintain our county facilities, and we do that with one of the leanest budgets and leanest teams out there. Same thing with fleet. And then, of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the couple of departments we have that are accredited, so Public Works and our Building Construction Services team, and Destination Management Organization as well as Parks are currently undertaking the rigorous process of becoming accredited.
We got it.
DMO got it? I can say that out loud? Go DMO! Awesome. Okay, so we now have 3 accredited departments. All right, so now let's start talking about our budgetary assumptions. So the direction we received from the board leading up to here is that we are looking at kind of the big muscle movements, taking the rescue component of fire and rescue out of the general fund, moving it into the MSTU. We're also looking at establishing parks in an MSTU this year. So based off board direction, the budget before you, even though the millages haven't been set yet, the budget before you is showing reducing the general fund by a like for establishing those 2 things in the MSTUs. So what's before you is a reduced millage rate, knowing that that's still something that needs to be adopted. Let's see. So then stormwater assessments, no change there. The road rehabilitation MSTU, that's the same millage rate that was adopted for 26. The water and wastewater rates are on pace with their approved rate study and no change in the solid waste rates. All right, so now let's start talking about the pressure that's on the budget. I think the first bullet here, we already started discussing it this morning, and it is the biggest topic in terms of budgetary pressures, and that is that property tax reform ballot measure coming up in November. Now, the board also has been working very hard to maintain structural stability in the general fund. And I will show you in a few slides that with the board's guidance and good fiscal stewardship, we are really close. We're basically structurally balanced in the general fund. And that's a testament to the work that you all do to maintain good fiscal stewardship for our citizens. Let's see, we've got public safety, staffing, and expenses. So we are still working to staff up the jail expansion, aligning resources with execution, and as construction and renovations are underway and completed. Let's see. And then general inflation and growth demands on operating, I mean, it's kind of where we've been, it's kind of where we're at, and we see the pressure from that the most in capital projects, but we feel it in operating as well. We need to maintain our public facilities. That does not come without a cost, but the longer we wait to maintain them, the more costly it ends up becoming. Wesley Chapel Library will be fully operational. Villages of Pasadena Hills, the Nature and Bike Park Phase 1 coming online, and Medicaid, our Medicaid rates, which they're not reflected in the slides yet, but we did, I think 2 days ago, get that number for Medicaid, and so we'll talk about that later. All right, so now we're gonna move into some of our economic indicators, and I am gonna try to go through these quickly, so if you have any questions, please just interject. So we look at the tons of trash. It's what we call a canary in the coal mine for us. What typically tends to happen is as that tons of trash starts to level off, we typically see afterwards a change in our taxable values. And so you'll see here we've got data up through 25 because that's our last fully executed year. And you'll see for the last couple of years it has been plateauing, right? And so we've been talking about our expectation is at some point right around the corner, those valuations are going to start to turn the corner as well and come down. Another indicator that we look at is our new home yeah.
Amy?
Yes.
Or Kevin, is recycling factored into the total tonnage, or no? The recycled tons, are they factored into the total solid?
Total, we're right at about 510, so I would say these numbers probably.
Come to the mic.
You gotta come forward to the mic.
Just looking at the number over there.
Kevin, you need to come to the mic.
I'm just trying to understand the accuracy, if this was just MSW or if recycling was included or excluded from the tonnage values.
It appears to me, Kevin Pliska, Solid Waste Director, looking at this slide, it appears it is excluded. When we include solid recyclables, we're at about 510,000 tons. So I would say it's probably excluded from this number.
So would you say this is a little skewed then?
I think from a macro standpoint, the big picture, we do see things starting to level off as far as total growth and total solid waste being collected or disposed. So I do see that trend as being pertinent here. We had many years that we were close to double digit. I think year over year, we're now plateauing at about 3.5%, 4%. And again, that depends on what side of the county you're looking at. West side, very flat. East side, close to 8% last year.
Increase.
Increase.
That's important to know. Thank you.
Tell me why.
It shows market. So I know we're looking at the whole picture here, but it shows where market and investment are going in the county, where services are likely going to be needed, if challenges arise where, you know, everybody needs some level of government, right? But as we prepare for whatever the future holds, to be able to meet demand and the growth demand in the new, if the new is not stuffing, if you're flat on west, but you grew at 8% on the east, and that seemingly trend is still going to continue, I think we need to look at the overall government infrastructure on both sides of the counties when we have to make tough decisions, what goes where, investment goes where, and so on and so forth. Volume of customer, Fasano says he sees 50, 60,000 a month. What's the breakdown of where those 50, 60,000 people are at? So on and so forth. So I just thought the breakdown was interesting when it comes time for us to have to make decisions of, okay, how are we trying to help the most folks or where? So just general thought rattling up in this eggshell of
And
mine.
I'm just trying to understand where your
Yeah.
concept was. What I do think would be helpful if we did see the slide with recycling
Mm-hmm.
included, because that's, I think the tonnage we talk about, what's being created, might help us as well.
Yeah.
And some of these new developments, they may be recycling more
Participation.
compared to the old ones that they still don't and aren't going to for different reasons. So it'd be helpful.
Yeah, the chair, the participation rates, if recycling is up, you know, you see these overall solid waste tonnages, but are we having, you know, what's going on if there is commercial recycling going on in the market? What's the residential participation kind of where based on routes, right? I think it would add more clarity between this delta. Because the more folks recycle, obviously, right, tonnages go down, so it might not be completely as accurate. And if we're leaning somewhat heavily on this data point, it's important to know. And by the way, are we still the cleanest commodity in the area for recycling? We still hold that, mantle? Which is a great thing, by the way, because that means the county's getting paid the most money for its commodity.
So we are reaffirming it in the upcoming months. We're going to do another detailed study. We expect our rates to improve, though, even from what we were before. We think there has been more educational outreach, and we hope to come back and say that, you know, we're less than 7% contamination. That's our goal.
And that's a testament to the resident and businesses who participate in the program. That's real dedication on their part. And so, good job all the way around.
Hey, Kevin, when we look at the spike to the last 2 years or so, do we account for like the hurricanes, how much trash got thrown up because of those?
Yeah,
In
good
that
question.
window?
Well, actually, going back to recycling, we think we probably lost a little bit of recycling credit during the hurricanes because how things were handled. But to your point, the debris that was collected by our small haulers, by our major companies, those all went outside of our system, okay? So those would not be in these numbers, okay?
Because that had to be weighed for FEMA purposes, right?
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, specialized waste went to C&D landfills, and then all the vegetation, remember, we took a lot of that and made mulch for beneficial reuse, et cetera. So we did not occupy our landfill space or our waste-to-energy capacity. The vast majority was handled, you know, differently, based on the waste.
Thank you.
All right.
Ready?
All right, so then looking at our new home permits, so these have leveled off. We are still getting new home permits, but not at the clip and the rate that we saw post-COVID.
Can I ask a question on this
yeah.
chart?
Mr. Stark?
Is the purple line converging with the orange? It's hard for me to see where the purple line goes
So
after
the
April.
purple line is following a very similar trend line to the green one, and so the green is last year, 2025. The purple is year-to-date 2026 through April. And so really, it's just showing that we've got a very similar trend this year to the last 2 years. And so we're expecting the new home permits to just kind of be at the same steady clip, but not the growth we had been experiencing.
Okay, so the purple is underneath the green?
Yeah.
Boy, if Mike Wells were still on here, there's no way he could see that.
Well, the purple stops.
It stops, yeah.
In April.
It stops at April.
So-
Oh, that's
our-
right.
yeah.
That's dumb,
Yep.
okay.
And so it's important for us to remember that I'm using rough numbers, but residential comprises roughly 85% of our taxable value. And we use the new home permits as a gate because it is a large percentage of our taxable value. We use that as a gauge for what we think new construction TAV might be, taxable assessed value might be in the future. And so this year is tracking with the same growth from the prior 2 years, which, like I said, is a drop-off from the post-COVID boom we saw in 2022 and 2023. So when we look at our total taxable value growth, this year it is down from what we have been experiencing. And part of that is the new construction. The bigger piece is the revaluations, which we'll get into. So these are the new home permits, and then here's how that translates to our taxable value history of new construction. So the FY27 number you see here, this is based off June 1 preliminary taxable assessed value numbers from the property appraiser's office. You'll remember that July 1st we get final. So right now we're able to show you a budget based off preliminary numbers, and then when we come back in July for trim, we'll have the final July 1 assessed numbers. So this is subject to a little bit of change, but you see now where our new construction values have dropped down. So what we saw coming in the new home permits, what we saw coming with the tons of trash, we're seeing here that kind of, we'll call it the shift in the curve. Or look, turning point. I could just read my slide. And so you'll remember the new construction, that's a component of our total taxable value change. The other piece is the revaluation, so the existing. And for our prelim numbers for FY27, we're looking at 6.3% of taxable assessed value growth. 3.7 of that is the new construction. Our revaluations are at 2.5%. Now, to put this into perspective, you see that we had a spike in total valuations in 23. We had 16.7% growth. That was that number. 11% of that was revaluation. So the market, all of this to say the market has cooled off and we have turned. We've turned the corner, and you see that with the 27 June 1 preliminary numbers, right? But the difference, and so why we look at the big picture, because there's a difference between recession drop-off, that's that huge drop that you see 28, 29. The difference is this has been more moderated and a market correction, more than just we'll call it a shock to the system. And we wanted to add, so typically we would show this slide and we would show this slide, but we also wanted to tell this story of, as all of this taxable value change occurred, what was also happening with millage rates, because that's the other piece of the equation when we start to look at what is our ad valorem tax revenue going to be. And so you'll see here where the, so a couple, what I'll call interesting data points and history. So most recently, as our taxable assessed values came in higher, you'll see that the board was working to reduce millage rates to provide some tax relief while balancing demands for service, because we were still in a growth environment, right? So you see the board working to provide some relief while also trying to make sure that we can provide services around the population growth and our increased demand for services. Now, if you go back to 07, right before the market crash, we were at, and we hit historic low taxable assessed value, and you can see where the board was trying to moderate an increase in the millage rates to try to come back and rebuild level of service after the recession. And so what you're seeing here really is a long-term strategic approach to try to build back those levels of service after the market crash, right? And so we're at a point now where we're able to meet demand and provide some tax relief.
Let's stay on the slide just for a second.
Yes.
Let's take a look back from 2004. And the board worked very hard every year to cut that millage, cut that millage, cut that millage. So much so that when the economy then dropped, we were in a very bad spot for several years where we couldn't fund parks, libraries, et cetera, to cut 30%. Everything else was being slammed. And it took a while for us to get back, and I think that's when the voters back a few years back said, we want to get caught back up. We're tired of waiting for our kids. So, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so we talked about our preliminary assessed values coming in at 6.3%, and then you'll also remember that I discussed how we built a budget where we were doing a like-for-like reduction in the general fund for the increase for the fire MSTU to absorb rescue and to also stand up parks. And so the assumption for the like-for-like change in millage rate was assuming that like-for-like reduction for parks would establish their current budget plus, which includes the $3 million for maintenance, establishing that in the parks MSTU. And then conversation around increased levels of service, would that look like a tax increase, right? And so, discussions to happen. So what you see here is reflective of the fire MSTU millage rate increasing, general fund having a like-for-like reduction, and you will see that the sheriff's allocation is, we've maintained that at what his budget request was, not showing a change in what his budget would be based off a millage rate change because the 40% of taxable assessed value growth, part of that has to do with what the millage rate is. So we kept his budget at what he submitted, which was assuming 4% taxable assessed value growth with the 7.4042 millage rate that we adopted in 26. All right, so general fund big picture. All right, so this is where we were talking about the structural balance that the board has worked very hard to achieve. And so I'll take you to the non-recurring or the recurring revenue versus expenses. And so when you see that it's negative 0.18, that's $180,000 more in expenses than revenue. When we look at our previous years, we were in the millions. So I would call it, we are a structurally balanced board. We have arrived. And this budget also assumes that 91.96 ending fund balance or reserves. That is 71 days in reserves or 19.5% of our operating expenses. All right, so budgetary pressure, that first bullet that we had talked about was the property tax reform. And so here's a summary table of what those impacts would be. So the assumptions baked in here, it is FY26, so current year adopted millage rates and June 1 preliminary assessed values. And so year one, the ballot measure calls for $150,000 homestead exemption. And so then you'll see what the impact to each of our levies would be. And then year two is showing the $250,000 exemption. And then the measure calls for the legislator at some point to create a schedule for when you would get to a full homestead. So we just did that calculation as well, just so you all could see the numbers. And so even though the board hasn't adopted a millage rate yet for parks, we did want to run some numbers. If we were to establish parks based off current budget and the $3 million for capital maintenance, they would experience in year one a $6.3 million loss and then $10.8 million in year two.
Question.
Mr. Wade.
Thank you, Chair. So that's based on the MSTU. Would that hit be harder if it was still in the general fund?
The numbers shake out to be about the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, percentages would
But-
carry
Mhm,
across.
the
But the
percentages carry.
interest in the MSTU compounds faster, right? That we've seen, at least historically, based on fire.
The MSTU essentially keeps the growth within that particular
Yeah,
use or
contains
fund.
interest. So then theoretically, if it was in, if it's funded in MSTU, then it would not be taken as big of a punch to the head based on the interest component to it, or no? Eric's saying no.
No, they're equivalent, but, yeah, I mean, they're equivalent. The math is, it's either in the general operating or it sits in the MSTU. So it's like for like right now. The percentages would carry forward. It just, you would have to fence it off within the general fund. If it's in its MSTU, it's already been fenced off for you and for the public.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, so when we're talking about our taxes, we also like to make sure that we can explain in an easy to understand manner where do those taxes go? And so here we've got, for every dollar of ad valorem taxes that a citizen pays, where does that go? And this is based off of current year, fiscal year 26 adopted. So 60 cents comes to the county, 38 cents goes to the school board, 1 cent goes to mosquito control, and then 1 cent goes to Swift Mud. So then we've taken the county's 60 cents on that dollar and broken that out based off the different levies that we have. So the general operating millage, the fire MSTU, road rehabilitation, and then general obligation. So the fire MSTU, the road MSTU, and the general obligation, those are pretty easy to understand because it's one for one, like for like. But general operating, that's where there can be some, we'll call it confusion, or maybe, a lack of clarity. So we like to take those 44 cents and then break that out so you can understand how that gets distributed based off of budget. So 20 cents of that 44 cents goes to the sheriff's budget, 6 cents goes to correction, 4 cents goes to the other constitutional officers, 4 cents goes to support services and some of our mandated services, tips and CRAs, 3 cents, parks, 2 cents, other public services under Kathy Pearson's branch, 2 cents, rescue, 2 cents, and again, because this is based off FY 26, rescue still in the general fund, and then libraries at 1 cent.
Question, Chair?
Mr. Whittle.
Thank you. How's the bond market react to MSTU versus not? So say, we have an MSTU for whatever specific service, and we go to bond parks, for example. We have the MSTU's funding, and we go to bond projects. Is there more security in the bond market knowing that the project is backed by the MSTU based on the formula of votes and et cetera that it takes versus general fund, or not? Are they treated the same?
Are you talking about general obligation bonds? Because if you're talking about general obligation bonds, they should be the same, because you've gone to referendum, you're appropriating millage for that, to pay that bondholder back, and the revenue stream from either the MSTU, so long as there's enough money in it, and the general revenue would be equivalent. Where it would not be equivalent is if you were just doing a covenant to budget and appropriate where it was coming out of, but you really,
But you would
you'd have to have another revenue stream for that type of bond.
So Jeff, I think, but a more basic question or a higher level question is can you really bond ad valorem? You can't pledge, or can you pledge ad valorem tax receipts as a source? My understanding is you would have to.
Under old school or new school?
Well, new school, I thought it was general.
So if you are pledging ad valorem money under the state constitution, you must take it to the voters.
Correct, general obligation.
So but it would be the same if it was coming out of an MSTU.
Correct.
That would still be pledging an ad valorem tax source.
Right.
So.
But it would still require referendum is the point.
Either one of those streams would have to require a referendum, and so that's, my opinion would be that they would be treated, in the bond market, they would be treated the same.
It's really no different.
Can I expound on his question? What about an MSBU?
MSBU's would not be looked as favorably upon by the.
By whom?
By the by the people who buy bonds. Now, this is,
Why?
I'm having to give you an opinion based on what the market has done before the legislature has decided to put this on the ballot. The bond market has always looked at property tax-backed bonds as being the most
In Florida.
in Florida. And they've looked at it as the best, highest value bonds, with maybe the exception of a utility revenue bond that's AA or better. The only groups that tend to do a lot of special assessment bonds are the CDDs. And because so many of those CDDs went under in 07, 08, the bond market still is a little queasy about that source. So my opinion would be, and maybe bond counsel would give you a different opinion, but based on my observation over the years, a MSTU bond that had gone to a voter referendum and was validated by the circuit court would be you'd get a lower interest rate. Bond market would take those in better than a straight MSBU style bond, because special assessments you have to prove special benefit. You know, there are more hurdles.
But if you get over those hurdles, it's not dependent upon the,
You don't have
property values, right? That's why I'm wondering
if you had an MSBU and you were trying to float a bond against it, because it's not a tax under Florida law, you wouldn't have to go to referendum.
Yeah.
We would still recommend that you validate it in court, just because that would give the bondholder more.
Okay, but, and are we gonna talk about MSBs today or no?
That's up to the board. I mean, those are
And I'm not sure if Commissioner
MSBUs
Yeager,
or assessments,
and
are you
Amy
talking?
Waitman, no MSBUs. So.
Yeah, I voted on one.
MSTU or MSBU?
Gulf Harbors.
Yeah, that is one that we did.
And the dredging
But
board.
Commissioner Yeager wasn't.
Yeah. Well, I asked that because of the, what was done in the past with the fuel tax, right? So, my point to it is.
So you can bond.
Yeah, if we
the
do
sales tax revenue as well, that's a different stream than ad valorem.
When, for example, like when you're looking at the hits to the parks over the 2-year span, and if there is a millage rate set and it's capturing and it's guaranteed compounding money, even though it's not to the level of what we were initially anticipating, and the board hypothetically picks a maintenance project and a new build, that it allows whatever volume of money that is to it can go to work as it's still growing. So that was just
You can use the proceeds of your MSTU to pay off your debt and make your debt service payments like any other expense. But as a revenue source to pledge would be a different story. As Jeff says, if it's a tax, it's general obligation. You would have to go to the voters for it. We have pledged half-cent sales tax as a repayment source. I think recently for the Parks bond that went out to pay for, so it can be used as a source of payment, but it's not the collateral, if that makes sense.
Is there a significant difference in the interest rates between the two mechanisms?
That's all very much up in the air right now with the current climate and conversation. We don't know.
Yeah, so.
You're not bankers?
So before the amendment, because you couldn't get to a bondholder on a ad valorem tax stream unless you had taken it to the voters, they were very, very secure in buying those bonds, so they came.
Right.
They came at a much lower interest rate.
Yeah, so a lot of it's contingent on the market, what's happening in the market, and now, not to get too geeky, but, like
How
half
many
cent.
people are going at the same time as you are?
Right, and like half-cent sales tax is considered a little bit more volatile because the, like the fits and the ups and downs can happen much quicker than what you would see with like property taxes, so that tends to be more attractive on the bond market. But we've done a really good job in this county of maintaining good financial solvency in the last few years, especially in the general fund, that we have experienced really good interest rates when we have gone to the market, because it does look at your overall portfolio as well, and what are your reserve levels and all of those things. And so the board's commitment to maintain good reserve levels and working towards structural balance has helped us achieve better interest rates when we have gone to market recently.
Unless you're Kevin Pliska, then they just give you money for free.
Cleanest recycling materials. Is he still here? Did you get to hear all that?
No,
Oh, it's a
unfortunately,
shame.
it's too bad.
He got called up and said, oh boy, I'm out of here.
All right, so as we were just discussing, oddly enough, great transition, in the general fund, so ad valorem taxes is, yes, the largest revenue in that fund, but it is not the only one. And you will see, important to note that in this fund, a very small percentage of the revenue is for charges for service, meaning we currently aren't charging directly for the services that get provided out of here. The majority of them are funded through the ad valorem taxes, or that sliver, green sliver called federal and state. And what that is the half-cent sales tax and the guaranteed entitlement revenue that funnels and gets distributed from the state that we were just talking about. You all teed me up nice for that segue. Good job. All right, so then how are we currently allocating those resources to our expense side of the house? So the majority here is for public safety, and so that includes sheriff, corrections, emergency management, juvenile detention center, those kinds of things. In that blue graph on the bottom, so these are our mandated or general government type things. And so just to highlight a couple of the mandated services that maybe aren't widely understood to be mandates. So public facilities, we are mandated, I know I've said that a few times today, right? But we are mandated to care for and maintain our public facilities, and that does come with a cost. Holding
Can I
open
stop you
meeting,
for- Can I
yeah.
stop you for a minute? I can't get past this first little block up there on the right. So the sheriff's budget's at 198. The corrections budget now is at 88?
Yes.
So it's about 67% to 33%?
Team, can you translate that? And get back to me, I think.
I think I know where the commissioner's going with this, but I'll
Yeah.
allow you to finish the
I
thought.
just find that, like, when we talk about the split.
Yes, sir.
With the growth,
Mhm.
I mean, we're not getting near where we should be getting, I would think.
In terms of the allocation of new,
Well, so, yeah, we only dropped him down 10% from a 50-50 split, now it's 60-40. The numbers here should be drastically different. I think you should break those numbers out to show what that split should be on the growth. That's an amazing number. I mean, maybe it is partly procurement that's driven up our costs, which is something we need to go take a look at.
yes.
Procurement and the staffing of the expansion.
In the expansion too?
Yep.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
all right, thank you.
So then also under those mandated services, so having open meetings like this is mandated by the state. And so when we look at, the budgets that contribute to that, roughly 6.6 million for maintaining open meetings. Our Medicaid contribution, that's over 11 million for FY '27. We just got those numbers in. I believe that was a roughly 6% increase in FY '26's contribution. All right, so what are those requirements, some of the things that we need to make sure are in this budget? So looking at retirement rates, so we did calculate the retirement rates based off of the most recent bill. And in there, we see an increase for special risk and an increase for elected. And the big increase for the special risk is the cost of living adjustment. And so when we look at just our general fund impact for that, 787,000 increase, for retirement. We do have a wage increase baked into this budget of 3%. When we look at the constitutional requests, excluding the tax collector and excluding the sheriff, we're looking at $500,000 increase. Wesley Chapel Library, you'll see here, 30,000 increase in '27, and then 890,000. The library team has done a great job of sharpening their pencils on timing and staffing and aligning resources, dollar resources and people resources with when they'll need to have that fully running, and a lot of that based on the renovation happening at Hudson. And then we talked about Medicaid, that is an $11 million expense for '27, not on the slides because that was hot off the press in an email. And then corrections union wage increase under negotiation. All right, so looking at the 5-year capital plan built into the general fund, you will see that the county administrator is recommending modest investments, mainly in maintaining our current infrastructure, to include both facilities and technology infrastructure. And then we will do a deep dive into the rest of the proposed capital budget again in July. We just wanted to make sure that we showed you the 5-year plan and the general fund, since that is germane to the overall general fund conversation. So then I had talked earlier about how our teams really came in flat this year, and so this slide is a testament to the hard work that happened January through May, to make sure that we really were just asking for those things that we need. And so you'll see a lot of our departments came under what their 26 adopted budgets are, and where we've increased, it is due to contractual increases. So for corrections, inmate medical coverage and food service contracts. Now, I will say the cost of those contracts went up by a larger amount than their budget went up, because they found other places that they could cut and tighten and make some sacrifice to try to absorb some of these contract increases. Facilities management, same thing. Their contracts went up by a greater amount than their budget went up, because there was a lot of pencil sharpening. And then libraries, what you're seeing there, we're opening up a new library. All right, so the board has been committed to maximizing our funding that we receive from developers when they clear out lots, to ensure that we're putting those funds to work back in the community. So the team has been working very hard to come up with a 5-year spend plan. They're really close to final on it, so we just wanted to give you a highlight of what to expect with the FY27 budget. So looking at a little over $400,000 for landscaping several of our parks and rec complexes, $670,000 for landscaping at facilities. These are not, this is not exhaustive, but inclusive of the Dade City Health Department, Elthurst Historic Schoolhouse, and the Stallings and Summit buildings. Public infrastructure, looking at roughly 2.9 for median landscaping and landscaping aligned with road construction. And then for our planning team, looking at $1.5 million for small business grant program. All right, so that gets us to the millage discussion. And so for today, having a discussion around millage rates will allow the county administrator and the budget team to come back in July for the trim meeting with a recommendation. And so let's talk kind of rules here. So how the rest of this budget process operates in July, you guys will set what we call the ceiling on the millage rate, so the maximum amount. When we get to the first and final hearing, we can come down, but we can't go up from those numbers that the board establishes in July. And so with that, we are happy to have some discussion with you guys.
I thought there was gonna be another slide here.
I have backup slides, knowing that we were, if I need the team to pivot to a backup slide, I'm
Well,
more
do
than
we
happy to
wanna,
do that.
I mean, since we have since we have moving the rescue to the fire MSTU, that's probably a quicker conversation than the other. You want to jump to that one?
Yep. All right.
That's a pretty easy one.
All right, so moving rescue into the fire MSTU. So to a point that Commissioner Waitman had made earlier, the fire team has done fire and rescue team has done a great job over the years, especially under Chief Gwynn's leadership and guidance, of making sure that they are properly aligning financial resources when and where they need it. And so they've experienced, we'll call it an increase in fund balance. And so moving rescue expenses into the fire MSTU, along with the associated revenues that fund that, we will see additional money in the general fund balance by shifting those over. And so we're able to increase the fire MSTU at a rate and then decrease by a like amount, still be able to afford stations coming online following their capital plan and alleviating some of the current and future expense pressures out of the general fund. So the math just really works out, and this movement is one of the key ways in which we can maintain structural balance in the general fund. And then make sure that fire and rescue has dedicated resources when they need to have stations come online for those demand for services without competing for those fundings with other general fund departments.
I like it. Net impact to median home value, 0.
Yep.
That's been the target of all the MSTUs, was to take like for like and make those reductions accordingly.
But if there is a 1/3 budget cut, that MSTU has a 1/3 budget cut.
That is correct.
Just so our citizens know what they're voting on.
Correct, it'd be about a third revenue
Are we gonna
loss.
talk parks?
Yeah, that's what, I figured we'd hit that one since that was the last slide, and we go back to this one.
Okay, last slide then.
This
All right, so Mike, you want us to pivot to the high level parts?
Yeah, that would be fine. We can discuss that. Do you have those backup slides?
We do. Heather, if you could pivot, it's gonna be the summary table for the park slides. Let me tell you what number it is in my packet, maybe that helps you. My packet says 7, maybe yours does too.
So, Amy, so if we
Yep.
do, oh, sorry, Jen. Thank you, Jen.
It's a park summary, Heather.
So we do, so.
Oh, no, keep going.
Seeing kind of consensus on moving the .2980 mills for mills over, that puts us at a starting general fund millage rate of what, 6? For this piece, that puts us at a starting millage rate of 6 what? 6? Do my math here.
I missed your first part of your
So
question,
we're at, our
Commissioner.
current general fund is 7.4042.
Yes, sir.
Seemingly consensus is like for like on moving fire, so we move, so out of that 7.4, we deduct the .2980, which comes to a theoretically starting millage rate of, what, 740.42.
So, assuming the reduction related to
7.214.
fire and a reduction to establishing parks as they're currently funded, the general fund would be sitting at 6.5612.
That's for both, though.
But that's for both of those.
So he's asking right now
So
just
what
for
are we
fire
at with
rescue.
just fire, before we get into the parks discussion?
I think my math is 7.214, but someone check it.
Here, let me get my calculator. 7.4. 042.
7.1062 is what general fund would be at just after the.
Okay, so for the
Fire
sake
limit.
of this conversation, we're starting at 7.1062, hypothetically fires, with the rescue component done. All right. So that's the start. And you said with the current parks budget, like for like, it moves general operating millage to 6 what?
5-6.
65612,
And that's just current
current state.
state.
Is there a slide on that? Is there a slide on that?
Wood Parks.
That shows the reduction.
You had a slide where there were different,
But I think that's one scenario that they did not, I'm not necessarily seeing it specifically there.
Which scenario was that?
Your closest one
I
was
can't
your
read mine.
2A scenario. Oh, 71062, here it is.
Park.
Yeah, we've got it. That's your option 3. 5. Pull up slide 5, Heather.
I don't think her slide numbers are the same as us. What's it?
No, they tracked.
Okay.
Keep going.
Yep. Keep going. Back. Almost there.
That's easier to see, turning around.
It's in your supplemental package.
Keep going.
I'm 2. Just I started at 3, but then 2.
Yeah, we've got it, Commissioner.
so it's
Just-
trim.
Okay.
All right, Heather, Eric's driving.
Thank you. That.
Just trying to get a new nickname, Agile Amy. Let that percolate. I made Jeff laugh. I win.
So, Commissioner, what you see there is exactly what Commissioner Waitman just stated. The fire MSTU increases by the .29 number, and then the general
Do we have the slide, or is it just?
It should be, I don't know if it's in your packet or
No,
not.
you should have it, and it's sample trim notice,
but you
option
have parts
3.
at 0. It doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
This is just moving fire, which is what the Commissioner's question
So
was.
just moving fire drops the starting general fund to 7.1. And then if we do the same thing at parks as currently funded, it moves general fund to 6.5, 6.6.
Which is, go back to, which is that.
Yeah.
We don't have that slide.
It's in the back of your package.
Yeah.
Oh, this one? Oh, okay. Somewhere in here? Okay,
They do.
All right.
What page
right,
number?
so,
Page 3.
Okay. I got it right.
So then the conversation lands on, the, trust fall exercise, right? Which I trust y'all on this. I'm committed to being all in on parks with this. Commissioner Starkey says truly legacy decision here in setting up for the future. We know strong parks build strong communities. We know if we have a strong park system, it just continues to add incredible value to our community, higher home sales, better quality of life, brings in good folks to live here and to come and travel here for tournaments and whatnot. So based on, the property tax discussion, I feel we have how government creates value is in key areas. Quality roads, short times in traffic, and then a second to none park system. And so I'm open to whichever, option the board is comfortable with. I'm willing to be aggressive with the plan, because the sooner we get the work done, the cheaper it's going to be. And, the quicker, we have a sound community asset that drives probably unquantifiable value within housing stock, commercial business, tourism, you name it, right? So I'll open with that statement.
Well, can you talk about more
Hang on.
specifically
Mr.
what?
Yeager?
So if we look at this option two, the 0.54, what does that do for parks? That maintained parks, and does that let us?
Status quo. So with
That's
that,
just status quo.
we have a slide that can kind of show what that looks like. Heather or Eric, if you want to drive us. In your supplemental packet, you can kind of look at slide number 8.
Right, so, because we're talking the parks option 2, and so this is status quo plus 5 million additional for.
Nope.
No?
Nope, option 1, please, go back.
Option 1.
There you are.
Okay, option 1, yep, all right, I'm tracking now. So option 1, this is everything that the Parks Department has today would get shuffled into the Parks MSTU.
Correct. And so the only thing that, the only funding sources that Keith and his team would have for new and capital construction would just be the current rates of projected impact fees that would be assessed, and then whatever organic growth comes out of the MSTU, which presumably at this point would go into funding operations as he moves forward. So it's a like-for-like transfer. It doesn't add to the capital program or the needs and demands that you saw at the workshop. Is Mr. Wiley here?
No.
But I can get him on the phone. We have an emergency, but I can get him.
Oh,
Mr. Wade?
So based on this conversation, the demands on, you heard, we know there's parks that on the west side lacking in maintenance, minimal parks on the east side, 8% growth on the east side. And just trash, we're trashy on that side. And, that's why I was on 2. The level, so aside from the MSTU, the reason the park, and we've grown younger, which is fantastic by average age and population since the COVID rush. And the property tax thing passes, I suspect more people will want to move down and get on the waiting list. And so with the development pressures, and as more developments come online, we're asking people from all across the county to pay for this. And the only reason, one of the reasons that we're in this situation is because of the level of development and growth that's come here. So do we have, on top of the MSU conversation, and aside from the impact fees that have been increased, do we go to the developers and say, hey, you need to do more? Because you're building all these houses with all these folks coming here, and demand the 100, once that closing happens, right? That crew cares about the closing, and there's 130 demands that come out of each one of these new residents once all that's done and they're situated. Yeah, are there other mechanisms and abilities to stand up our park system to make it as robust as we're all hoping to have by using them? Like require them, we need parks, and we have Two Rivers, for example, and we paid what we paid for the Bob Thomas Park. But do we start having requirements that say, hey, there's a real parks component within the development process on these larger scale developments? It's because of those projects that these challenges have arisen, right? And the public can only share, carry so much of the water. North Hudson, the more rural areas, everything north of 52 from the Gulf to the swamp, it's going to be less dense there. And, so they're carrying the water for the more urbanized and areas of the county. So I'm just trying to get creative on how, if there's any other mechanisms on how we build a robust park system that's second to none, that's world-class, and striking the balance with kind of that high-level thought process in millage rate to get there, where the taxpayer isn't necessarily carrying, you know, the full bucket. So just creative thought processes there is what I'm trying to come up with on how we land to a successful model.
Go ahead.
Well, David could attest to what happened at the Starkey Regional Park where the developer did take a lot of the responsibility for the first 7 years, 8 years, I don't know if you know the number. Because they looked at it as a great asset for selling houses in the community.
They did take on the maintenance responsibility for a period of 7 years, but we helped subsidize that over time, and then eventually we took over the maintenance.
Yeah, but that, if we could get more, we didn't make them do it, they voluntarily.
But that was a fairly unique arrangement, and we haven't found another developer willing to do that since. So
And I think that's the point I was going to make is you will have to appeal to the good nature of your developer partners for that. To make it compulsory, that's what your impact fee is for. And that's what they're legally obligated to pay. And quite honestly, you're a little caught up in that because you just raised it. So you really, there's rules now in increasing. How to increase that. We have to pay market value for land. There's a number of rules that have been put into place that, I guess the days of sort of getting concessions from developers, you really have to apply to the good nature and have partners that see the value in it as well as you do.
We do have another partner, West Bay. I don't know if Keith's had time to pursue this, but in meeting with them on the Mitchell 41 property, and telling them about the equestrian opportunities in Jumping Gully and all around there, and with their new development, they are very interested in partnering with us on advancing the building out of quality equestrian facilities there, so that in lieu of impact fees or, and they would accelerate it so that they could be part of a marketing, ploy with their development. The other thing I would say, I'm a huge supporter of parks, everyone knows that. But I have a little fear if we show, if we were to put more money in the Parks MSTU by raising a millage, I don't want to add fuel to a fire of getting more people to vote for the 60% reduction. But what I would like to suggest is that we take that money that Fasano's giving us and just flat give it to parks.
That's a good idea.
And so it doesn't necessarily build up their MSTU for next year. But if this doesn't go through, then we can, work with the parks MSTU and add more next year. But at least we get him some more capital money without raising the millage rate for this year.
I like that idea.
The premise to the thought process is, if we somehow find a new agreement with the development folks, they don't have to go to procurement. They don't have to pay all the costs through procurement. They can get to work right away. They're already mobilized on site in the area. And it helps stretch the public dollar further and helps the park system come online quicker instead of waiting on the snail speed of government, right? Because we're in the world of now. People want it now, and the demand is now. And so that's the rationale of a thought process.
But they may want impact fee credits for that, so it's still a hit to the Parks Department.
That's correct,
Yeah, well, it would, what the commissioner is saying is we treat it the same way we treat roads in some instances where development builds it, we give them credits, as long as they're not upside down, they'll usually go for that sort of a scenario, and it gets done faster and potentially at a lower cost.
Yeah, I say we do both.
Yeah, you're seeing that. We're doing that already with roads. As Nick likes to tell me, we're building our infrastructure, building our roads inch by inch. But I mean, that's okay, right? I fully believe in leveraging our relationships with our developers to help get our infrastructure built. That would include parks. I know we actually contemplated that and gave that some consideration with the Two Rivers Park. You know, those were we just couldn't come to an agreement on that, from what I understand. So that's always on the table. To Commissioner Starkey's point, though, typically they're going to want credit. Typically, they're going to, they're going to want something in return, which of course is fine. But if you're talking about leveraging and really truly moving the needle on the taxpayer dollars, your biggest lever is your impact fee, which you've already raised.
Kathy?
Yes, Keith Wiley is on Teams and he does want to.
Is your mic on?
Yeah, your mic's on.
Oh, sorry. Keith Wiley is on.
The top.
So we want to get him to comment. He does want to make some comments. You hear me now?
There you go.
Keith Wiley is on and like to make some comments.
Can you say it one more time? Just kidding.
They have to.
Keith, are you muted?
Oh, it's, can he not talk?
No, Kathy, I can hear you. Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes,
We
good
can
evening.
hear you.
All right, so sorry I can't be there. Couple quick responses to the discussion about impact fees, and I don't know if David Goldstein is still in the room, but it would be extremely difficult for developers to monetize. I mean, in order for them to do the deal that I think Commissioner Waitman was discussing, you have to have some entitlements left over. In most of the cases where we are on our 6 major park projects, the build-out scenarios for those projects or those developments, they're well past 60-70%.
Yeah.
So there's going to be no developer that will build, strike a deal with the county when they can't monetize those credits. So the ship's sailed on those projects. The other thing is that I think Mr. Carball already called out, we've already increased the impact fee. We went through a study that was required by statute, and there's additional statute restrictions on how often you can increase that. So that's also not a path forward. And I appreciate the discussion and the creativity to maybe look for other ways to get this done, but I think it's my job to tell you that is a dead end officially, in my opinion. And I'm hoping if David's in the room, he could confirm some of the things that I just stated, because I don't have the statute language in front of me. I don't think we would be able to convince anyone that of the extraordinary circumstances requirement. Maybe Jeff can opine on that too, in terms of raising the impact fees.
I think you've already done it. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
I don't think we're discussing that.
No.
We're not discussing that, Keith. We know we just did that.
I think the only chance for a developer to get in, to actually see the value, like they saw at Starkey, to say, our
At the
property's
beginning,
worth more money, even during, it's worth more money having the park built in ahead of time.
We
Clay-
can't force them to see that.
No, we can't. It takes a smart businessman to actually see it and go and be able to capitalize, but I agree, the impact fees are as high as they're gonna be, and now we gotta look at where we're gonna go. But let me just bring this conversation out. As we're gonna be looking at what's gonna happen come November, whether this vote gets voted up or down, much as we looked at the sheriff MSTU and how complex that was going to be, because we're gonna have to protect ourselves by putting the millage up high, or keep the millage up where it was, and then add the MSTU on top of that to go forward. We're talking a lot about trust right here, but I don't think it's just a matter of trust we need to look at. And Keith, you might not like I'm gonna say this, but I'm just thinking for the long term, to really protect us so that what we're in front of us is right now. What are we gonna do, how are we gonna discuss? Listen to Tax Collector Fasano talk about how he's losing money on licenses, losing money on registrations. That type of thing is just his budget, and all the other things that are mandated in here. We are gonna have, I think, such a battle to be able to show people, here's what you're going to lose if this goes through. And again, just what we saw, the devastation at 100,000, never mind 150, never mind 250, to what it's gonna do our thing. As much as I wanna protect parks, and from what I'm hearing, if we're just gonna go net zero, I don't know if I really wanna complicate the matter. If you want to go further with it, to say put more things in it, I'd be more inclined to go with it. But if I'm just gonna keep it, I'm going from one to the other, I think it's just gonna be confusing to people out there what we're really trying to do. Because right now, we should be focused on what this effect is going to be in the budget, never mind how this MSTU is a neutral thing, it's not gonna hurt anybody, but you gotta try to spend time justifying that and going through that. You're making this whole thing, I think, complex going that way. Now, if you really wanna go forward and go bigger, and go to the option 2 or 3, where you're gonna put all these projects in, here's what we're gonna get if we go this way. It may carry more weight and more attention to it, but to keep it just the same, I'm gonna say, it's not the trust thing as we talked like last week. I'm not worried about the trust thing so much, I'm just worried about the message that we have to deal with right now. Our focus, I think, we're 1 year too early with this at this point, because our focus is gonna be, what are we dealing with right now, and what's gonna be in front of the people? If this thing goes through, just go back to, 07, 08, we had to cut parks and libraries 29%. And if you factor those things into the other things that we have out there, senior services that we go out there, like how many, if we have a huge waiting list for Meals on Wheels, that's gonna be disintegrating. I mean, all these things that are out there that need to be part of the discussion, and you can talk about how they did this approval for this budget change, drastically affecting 67 counties, they did it in 2 days. How can you research something when you couldn't even get through the regular session, through the 6 months they had before that, and now in 2 days, we're gonna slam it through with whether the leverage was getting projects done or not? I just hate to see us take away from that discussion when we're trying to do what's the right thing, to do the thing, because I think parks should be separated out. I think we did a great thing with the roads and rehabilitation project, to take those out. We saved a ton of money on all the paving assessment, but between the hearings, between the money, the recording, the efficiencies of that project is phenomenal. And for the last 2 years, since putting it, I've tried to get more money into that. So, again, let's talk about it a little bit, but to go from one to the other, why am I gonna get in that world and worry about even the trust factor when I get a big situation right in front of me? Commissioner Waitman, then I'll go Commissioner Yang.
Thank you. Yeah, so, to your point, Chair, on the reduction of revenues, if we're proactive and bold on the park's decision, it's me being hopeful and optimistic that the decision on the parks is that it continues to drive a higher level selling price, even though, say, the homestead is what it is, it's capped. But if our park system becomes world-class, that it drives the selling point in the higher value of the home. And so instead of being, 3, 4, 500,000 today with the current park system, and it drives it to 6, 7, 8, 9 or higher because of the value of our park system, it's a proactive move, I think, on government on how it can drive values in the ancillary uses, such as your, whether it's residential, commercial, other development factors in there. So that's kind of the rationale, that is the rationale behind my thought process of truly investing in the parks, and not just necessarily the net, shift from A to B. We're proactive and we set a millage rate that really does the work that folks want, and something happens in the market, well, for our market, our budgetary process. But we put a mechanism in place that's rehabilitating parks and adding new parks, and because of that, continues to drive higher home values, higher home prices, selling prices, and what have you. That's the rationale behind my thought process, is it being more of a not just have world class, but proactive in the sense of if the property tax referendum does pass. So you can cut either way. It's not an argument. It's just kind of, I want to share the rationale behind my thought process.
Yep.
Thank you, Chair.
Appreciate it.
So just throwing it out there, what do you guys think on option 2A? So you're lowering the millage, right? And if we and I know this is not a lot of money when in the big scheme of things, but if you knock that to 4 million and then take the million, like Commissioner Starkey said, so we take the million from that to make it 5 million, people would get parks because we just did the surveys and they really want parks. I'm nervous about doing nothing with parks because the people are asking for it. So, with this option, we'd still be lowering the millage. People would get their parks, and if you look at the parks that would be completed in option 2, I mean, it stinks that there's nothing on the west side, but central and east would.
Commissioner Jaeger,
Let her finish first.
And I just think option 3 is just too, you know what I'm saying, we're not really, Parks doesn't really get anything. Because they're at 0.
which one are you saying, 2?
Okay.
2 or 2A?
Yeah, so I want to clarify. So we've got
Yeah.
some, and I am extremely apologetic for the confusion. So we've got parks options 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we've got sample trim notice options, and those are slightly different. It's not perfectly aligned. My bad. I will do this better next time. Aligned in the option numbering. So let's walk through, so Commissioner Yeager, we're talking parks option 2, where we're adding,
I was saying if we added 4 million, right, and took the million from Pasco, even though, you know, it's not a lot of money in the big scheme of things, but I was just throwing that out there.
Do you mean 4 million from, say, the 3 million from?
From this
Fasano?
option, right here, from option 2A.
But she's on the sample trim.
I'm on
okay,
this.
so
She's on
sample trim,
sample
where
trim
we would
versus
be
this one.
establishing.
That's what Amy is saying, is
Oh,
you've got
okay.
these options and you've got those options.
2A.
Yeah, we've kept it
She's on
very
the right one.
confusing for you.
Okay.
So sample trim option 2A would be keeping Keith's operating budget in the general fund, but establishing the MSTU for additional capital maintenance. And so
I wanna
that's
move it into the
5 million
MSTU.
for capital maintenance, which we could reduce to 4,
That's what she's saying.
right?
Yeah, she's saying to go ahead and reduce the amount of that capital maintenance bill, and then just make up for that, some other general fund
Like from
we would
Fasano's
fund.
money, like
Right.
Commissioner
Correct, I
Starkey
mean,
said.
it's all in the bag of money.
And
mean, that-
reducing general fund by a like amount, so it's a net impact to the taxpayers.
Right.
My preference is to get that started with the MSTU, but keep the millage rate the same and supplement him with the Fasano give back money.
So, now we see a
She wants to
cut
keep him in that, not
for the
fund
general
MSTU.
budget goes.
I wanna
I'm sorry,
keep the millage.
I'll let you guys continue to talk.
Right, you want to lower the millage down, so now I'm seeing a cut in the budget, so
How
to
can-
say that we're gonna get a shot at putting an MSTU in, which could get voted back, I've already got to start it with a lower millage, now we're making the situation worse than I'm gonna be in front of.
Yeah, I can't.
For 2A? For right here?
I think what the commissioner's referring.
No, if we're gonna cut the millage, right, and right now, with what we're facing next year,
We cannot cut the
I mean, it's gonna be devastating if this goes through. You wanna say about protecting parks and libraries, parks? To keep this simple, we've gotta keep the focus on exactly what we're doing. See all the pages we gotta look at to figure out what we wanna go do, how we wanna go structure it out, how we take money from here over to there? Try to imagine the public looking at what we're trying to do. I think, I'm gonna say it, I think we just need to stay with, if you wanna protect the parks in the budget this year, protect the parks in the budget this year. We just gotta say, we want the money spent, it gets spent that way. I don't need an MSTU to direct it. I don't need this extra mechanism that's gonna cloud everything that's going on out there. If we're gonna go looking at what the effect is gonna be and showing people what the effect's gonna be, if this thing goes through, that should be our biggest focus. Whether we put an MSTU in right now or not, doesn't matter, in my opinion.
So what do you think to the citizens? They're gonna say they're not cutting my millage right now, and then they may vote for the
If you wanna
property
cut the
taxes.
millage, we can cut the millage, but I'm saying to throw an MSTU in the mix of all that, to say here's why we're doing it, is not gonna work with me.
But the millage would show a
It's too
reduction,
confusing.
right? The millage would show a reduction.
Right.
On the
You know,
trim.
If you're
On
gonna
the trim.
go for that, go for that, but
let's get the MSTUs out of the conversation. However you want to protect the parks or not protect them, that can be done in the budget discussion. But I'm gonna say, as of right now, I don't like where this is going, because I think it's just too confusing to what we want to do. And I'm a huge believer in the parks. I think we should put them in there. But right now, this discussion is gonna be about how devastating everything's gonna be. Not just parks, libraries, services, et cetera, if this thing passes.
So what are you saying, if you get rid of the Parks MSTU, how much would you allocate to
He's not
parks?
saying get rid of it, it's funded at zero.
I think the commissioner is
I mean,
basically
funded zero,
saying
but
same level,
Like we did last year.
just exactly what you did last year.
Okay, and you'll have the flexibility to go do that. We don't have to go have an MSTU to say we're gonna protect parks. We just say, we're protecting parks.
It's all encompassing.
This is unnecessary stuff, and again, from the discussion we just had, all the effects, I wanna keep it simple.
Commissioner Yeager, to your earlier point, if the board wants to Commissioner Mariano's point, you want to fund capital maintenance at the full 8 million, you let me know that, and then we will go back and craft the general fund budget in a manner that adds those additional $5 million, to Mr. Wiley's budget. It'll come from somewhere else, but we'll figure that piece
But
out.
then no projects get done.
No, I mean, other than the normal capital slate, and I believe what Commissioner Mariano is referring to is maintain course and speed through these turbulent times, and then assess next year.
I'm proud of he's being like D2 in the MSTU. But the language in the MSTU is very good language. It's all encompassing, where before it was just, the previous MSTU military parks was
Just
maintenance
maintenance,
only.
yeah, you're right.
This one incorporates maintenance and new capital, so that's a good structure of the MSTU, even if it does stay at zero. Look, I have to leave here in 1 minute
Me too, I have doctors.
a funeral, but I'm willing, I think we're all pretty much aligned here, it's just how we get there. But, if we have one that's on the fence, then, I don't feel any pressure in bickering over it. It's just a matter of we all want to try to do the
So
right
which
thing.
option are you for on
I
this?
wanna scrap the MSTU, here's why. If we're gonna go look at this, and we're gonna focus this thing through, if you wanna protect the parks, or you wanna put more money in the parks, so be it, you can do it, we have control of the budget. I am worried about the following year, and what's gonna happen, and how we're gonna have to go deal with it. Because I will tell you, I've lived through 07, 08, we had all those cuts of 39%. I've lived with people screaming, all these seniors that couldn't spend $2 to go to Green Key, because they couldn't afford the parking.
So are you for option 3, is that what you're for?
But no
Delay?
option with the MSTU right now.
That's what I'm saying, option 3, delay Parks MSTU and still move rescue to the MSTU.
I don't even know if rescue's good right now.
I think the commissioner is saying option 4.
Well, MSTU and fire is performing
But then the millage
very well
stays the same.
for rescue.
Correct. It's level.
Mr. Chairman.
Rescue's a no-brainer.
Just on your last comment, you already moved rescue into the fire MSTU, and so you're gonna be establishing a millage for it this budget season, so that one's sort of a done deal.
So, let me just say, with a minute to go under the pressure, I got two commissioners getting ready to go, I think this is like a conversation for the future.
Good conversation.
Yeah, because right now, I don't mind delaying the Parks MSTU. Like you said, we can fund it, but I am for lowering the millage, not keeping it the same.
In front of the,
That'll be part of the budget discussion we have coming up.
Correct.
I'm just trying to keep it simple, that we don't bring in something brand new, that we're gonna say, well, we're doing this to go here. People need to keep it, we need to keep it simple to say, this is what we're facing, here's how important parks and libraries are, et cetera. and
But I
all the
do wanna
services
give them
are.
money, Parks,
You can do that,
yeah.
you can put that in the budget.
Yeah.
We have full control.
With 3
With Rick.
on the general budget.
That's right.
We only need 3?
On general.
On general,
yes.
yes, ma'am.
All right, so we're gonna adjourn the meeting, just because I know your two commissioners have to go.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you all very much.
I'll
Thank
sit here
you.
with you and talk budget.
Sunshine.